Today, Ed introduces a new manga manhwa series to everyone. This is a work from Reddit Studio. This studio has drawn masterpieces such as Solo, Leveling, The Old Demon God, The Iron-Blooded Swordsman Sought Revenge, along with many other masterpieces. Our story today is about Egan. After half a year on the run, a vampire like him was still killed by a group, calling themselves heroes. They used his life to elevate the reputation of a newly summoned holy knight. But they all failed to realize that vampires are immortal. First of all, let's go back to the protagonist's first life. On a stormy night in the deep dark forest, a squad of soldiers with sharp eyes stood tall, despite the storm. Their hit standing in front shouted proudly, "Hey, you vampire, hiding and dodging for half a year? That must have been fun, huh? During that time, you probably killed quite a few people, didn't you? You filthy beast. The holy knight charade we put on was pretty good, right? But your play ends here. Not even the gods can forgive your crimes anymore. Be proud that you died by my hand and helped me earn the title of Vampire Slayer. The crime of deceiving the church and not accepting the holy knight's judgment. Your very fallen appearance says it all." After saying this, Darehit suddenly flashed a wicked smile. "Oh, and do you know something? The reason I haven't caught you until now is because I did it on purpose. Both my delayed participation in the pursuit team and letting you run rampant for all this time. It's been a long time since a rare vampire like you appeared. I have to play with you slowly to get more bread, you know. And while I'm at it, I'll teach a lesson to the heretics too." Hearing this, Egan couldn't hold back and lunged forward. He knew it. After all, this world is fundamentally dog-eat-dog. Everything is decided by the power of the rulers, whether Egan wanted to or not. That's why he had to run away. A long slash swept past so quickly that Egan couldn't block it in time. Darehit walked past him, showcasing a spectacular victory. How disgusting that thought was. He clearly displayed an expression of ridicule and disdain toward Egan. "Your existence is an insult to the church and a blasphemy against our prestige." He died with deep, unresolvable regret. "If I had one more chance." Suddenly, Egan woke up with an intact body, covered in sweat. He panted for a moment and then asked himself, "What the heck is this?" Because the present was quite vague. Egan was a little confused. "What happened? My neck was severed, but my limbs are fine. I was definitely dead. Was it a dream? No, it wasn't. This is definitely the tent I was in before I was hunted down by the holy knights of the church. The time is half a year ago. It looks like it's right before I was hunted by the punishment team." Egan stood silently in the cave. "Did I go back in time?" Thinking this, his hands clenched resolutely. "If I'm really given another chance?" This is a remote forest with no sign of people near the village of Broadway. Egan had been living here to avoid the eyes of humans, just a weak, pathetic vampire. So he had to hold his breath, hide, and live a meager existence to survive the days. Jujin Egan didn't crave human blood, but in one instance in the distant past, he couldn't control his instinct and spread disaster. The very next day, mercenaries swarmed the area, and 5 days later, holy knights scoured the entire village. Whether it took a month or a whole year, they were determined to find Egan. Due to overwhelming fear, he lived in the forest and only drank the blood of wild animals. For 12 long years, he wasn't sure why he was sent back to the past, to live again. But one thing was certain. If he was given this chance, he absolutely could not repeat the mistakes of the past. If he had to keep hiding only to die in the end, he would rather become strong enough that even if he was discovered, they wouldn't be able to do anything to me. By using the vampire's own methods, from now on I will change my survival strategy. Vampires can absorb power through the act of draining life force. The stronger the bloodline of the target, the greater the absorbed power. There it is. A gigantic, ferocious Rosmer has surfaced, the ruler of this forest. It attacks so fiercely that Egan is temporarily helpless. The violent struggle finally made him fall onto the bare ground. Egan quickly stood up, assessing the current situation. "With this weak body, I can only use all my strength to dodge its attacks, but all I need is to create even a small scratch." He stood facing the Rosmer with intense determination, "and I can suck its blood." Egan's previous survival method was to erase his existence as much as possible. But once he knew that way was a dead end, there was no reason for him to hesitate anymore. Right now, more than anything, Egan needs sufficient power. His sword shattered against its skin. "My sword!" Rosmer seized the opportunity and used its tail to fling Egan away. He bounced a few times and flew far away. Egan took a heavy hit. The critical moment has arrived. A large, dark shadow lunged and his eyes widened in shock. Its huge mouth opened wide. Did I underestimate the power of a Rosmer? Rosmer is a term for creatures that wander in nature and are not monsters living in the demon realm. Although in an environment without magic power, some Rosmers still possess a magic core, an item sometimes even more valuable than gems. For a Rosmer, the magic core is its life core. If he could find its magic core, perhaps Egan could turn the tables, but the power difference is too great. Perhaps Egan had underestimated the chance he was given, facing a Rosmer that dominates the forest. it would probably destroy Egan. Before he even had time to leave a scratch, the monster lunged quickly into the water, causing a violent surge of waves. It also carried Egan along like a reserve food supply. He completely fell into despair. Perhaps Egan was too confident in thinking that if he had been granted one chance, there would be a second chance, and a third. No, I never thought so highly of myself. Suddenly its eyes widened in horror. That's why I always had to grovel, because Egan did something that caused it pain. Holding my breath and struggling just to live, just to survive, I chose the path of fighting. The intense thought made Egan's whole body glow. I must fight, I must win. If I can't win, there won't be any more chances. Egan reached for the heart. If it fails, there will be no next time. Egan reached closer, craving to seize it. He opened his mouth. The red gem was right before his eyes, because survival itself is living by stepping on the blood of others. After the shocking incident occurred, the water surface returned to calm. Suddenly, a bright light flashed from under the water. As the incomplete body of the Rosmere surfaced, I promised myself that if I had another chance, I would not choose the path of running away, but must choose the path of fighting. The entire space turned a deep crimson. So right now, I will seize both fresh blood and victory. Egan stood calmly there, looking at his new body. He glanced at the enormous monster and thought, I only needed the blood of the forest's master. Yet it also absorbed the magic core. Why is the magic power in this old Rosmer's magic core stronger than I thought? So many colors. It's completely different from the previous ones. The size is larger too. The ability obtained from the magic core can cover me with black scales. With this, perhaps, Egan can withstand sunlight and operate during the day. He learned about this forest's master from the time he was captured by mercenaries. At that time, the swamp area was still small, so no one knew of his existence. But after the heavy rain and flood, his territory expanded. He appeared and attacked the mercenaries. In that chaos, Egan drank a mouthful of blood from the injured forest master. Thanks to that, he took down a few and escaped. Since he knew how effective it was, Egan was determined to drain his life force once more. Although his strength has increased a little, it's still not enough to face Knight Young-Dihit. I must avoid battles where I have no chance of winning, at least until I'm sure of Knight Young-Dihit. No matter where I hide, he can find me. It seems he possesses a special ability to detect monsters or spirits. Therefore, instead of continuing to hide, I must gather enough strength to confront him. The sun is about to rise. I can't test the power of the magic core right away. I must return before sunrise. Suddenly, an enchanting voice spoke up, grabbing his attention. The fake master is dead. He was the one who usurped my territory and turned the beautiful lake into a rotten swamp. You brought him a miserable death. I thank you for that. But you dared to trespass on this territory and dye the land with blood. This sin is unforgivable. This place is my territory, Mirians, the protector of the lake. Heaven will be enraged and the earth will be furious. You will suffer a curse, and your body will be torn into 100 pieces. Even if I say that, this bald old vampire probably can't hear anything right. Only some special creatures can sense spirits. Despite those sarcastic remarks, Egan asked it, "What are you?" Hearing his question, its face froze. Huh? He probably doesn't see me right. Egan repeated, "I asked you, what are you?" Mirian was extremely surprised by this event. "You can see me. You belong to the Blood Clan, don't you? So did you hear what I just said?" Then Egan guessed what it was thinking. The part about the bald old vampire. Without further argument, it bowed and introduced itself. "I am Mirian, a water spirit. I was originally the master of this place, but 15 years ago that alligator stole my territory, and so I became his slave, or no. To be more accurate, a strategic ally is better, because if the water is dirty, the prey won't come anymore. So he let me control the lakefront area. Anyway, thanks to you, that wretched alligator is dead. This place will be purified. It's all thanks to you. I saw with my own eyes an old, bald man being swallowed by the alligator, but just when I thought he was dead, an explosion went off and a handsome guy appeared. Could it be that you disguised yourself to trick the alligator? That was truly a meticulous plan. Ignoring everything, Mirian said he only cared about himself. My tattoo is disappearing, why is that? Oh, right. I should use polite language, shouldn't I? Your Excellency's tattoo is beautiful. What does it mean? It's a warrior's emblem, then. Who are the people you killed, Your Excellency? He shook his head and replied indifferently. I don't know. They have been on my body for a very long time. Since when Egan became a vampire. He couldn't remember anymore. Egan was born that way, even in his oldest memory. These 10 tattoos were already etched onto his body, because he couldn't recall the distant past. Egan only knew how to live a life in hiding, never daring to look at himself. If these tattoos are a form of enchantment, then was one of them. Broken today. I'm leaving. Guard the forest carefully. Mirian had a hint of reluctance, not wanting him to go. Yes. It's been a long time since I've met someone to talk to. Are you really going to leave right now? Over time, those who can see spirits have become fewer and fewer, so I am very bored. I wish I had someone to chat with. Egan reminded Marin of its main duty. Are you not going to restore this swamp back into a lake? It seems it didn't want to do it. Do you know how long it will take to purify that place? I'd rather invite a handsome man with a pale complexion like yours to drink some clean water. Moreover, I am a water fairy, so I can create absolutely delicious water. Drink fresh water, and your complexion will look very handsome. Just seeing how Marin created the water, Egan wanted to avoid it. Hurry up and go, he commanded. Get lost. Seeing him leave, it desperately called out. Your Excellency, wait up. I can still filter water to help you drink any water source. Egan was determined to leave it. No need. Marin stubbornly followed. Instead of refusing, it would be better if you accepted. Your Excellency, member of the Blood Clan. A few days later in Broadway Village, it was another clear, moonlit night. Someone burst in with news. Village chief, come quickly. The red-eyed monster is here. He exclaimed in surprise. Huh? The whole village surrounded something with astonished faces. This thing is... They all excitedly exclaimed. Mom, look, wild boar, we have pork to eat. So much, look, village chief. There's more today than usual. Can we take all of it? A young man curiously asked the village chief. What is the red-eyed monster thinking? Normally, he only leaves prey on the night of the full moon. He understood the young man's point, but didn't know the reason. It's not the time for him to show up yet, is it? Everyone remembered the kind stranger, an eccentric person living at the foot of the distant mountain, whom the villagers called the red-eyed monster. He had lived near the village for over 15 years without harming anyone. On the contrary, every full moon night, he would bring game meat to share with the villagers. Who could understand his intentions? Egan had a request for him. Can I enter the village for a moment? Over 15 years ago when he first appeared, everyone was terrified. But because Egan regularly brought meat, as if paying taxes, the villagers no longer felt afraid. This strange relationship lasted for over 15 years. Everyone welcomed Egan like a fellow villager. It's been a long time since I saw you. Is there something you want to talk about? Egan removed his hood and said, I've been living far from the village because I was sick. But after a long period of isolation, I'm cured now, so I came to share the good news. I've received a lot of help from the village. Now I want to repay you if the village runs into any trouble. As soon as they saw his face, the whole village stared in astonishment. What? They couldn't believe Egan standing right before them was so handsome. Just call me anytime. The aura of the handsome man radiated, blinding them. Red-eyed monster, oh my God. He couldn't believe his eyes. Was that weirdo in the forest a half-demon? Or a noble? Although he always wore a mask. It turned out his face was this handsome. Just then Marin emerged, puzzled. Egan, did you give them all the meat you hunted? What are you thinking? Vampires should be associated with blood, slaughter, and death, right? He didn't think so, so he made it understand. In human society, building relationships is very important. That's why I'm granting favors. Marin firmly stopped Egan. Are you planning to integrate with them without eating them? You said you would leave in a few days. Then why bother with the relationship? He took off his mask and spoke about the future. I thought it didn't matter, but it turns out it does. I can't just stand by and watch what's about to happen. When the mercenaries arrive, all the villagers will be wiped out. Marin exclaimed in surprise. What? Egan's thought about the boy. He muttered, they came to Broadway Village to capture a boy and take him back to the Baron's castle. To silence them, they will eliminate all the villagers. If we don't stop this, it will lead to the arrival of the Holy Knights. He was half believing, half doubting the story. Is what Egan said true? If that's the case, then how did he know beforehand? No way the whole village will be wiped out. Even after spending the few days with Egan, I still don't understand him. What is he thinking, Egan? Let time prove whether it's true or not. Let's just wait and see. But before that, we must gain some trust from the villagers, so they see I'm harmless. Marin ignorantly asked about these two things, the matter of the mercenaries and building trust. How are they related? For the crime of not looking where he was going, he hit Egan straight on the head. Marin covered his face and yelled, ouch! He looked at Egan and asked, why did you suddenly stop? It turned out that from the front, a squad of guards was aggressively charging towards them. As soon as they saw Egan, they discussed, what is that? That guy looks weird. He seems to have just left the village. What do we do? We were trying to sneak into the village. That man looks so effeminate. He doesn't have any weapons either. And he's alone too. It'll be troublesome if he yells. As soon as he finished speaking, he swung his axe and lunged forward. Mustn't let him have a chance to call for help. Marin anxiously shouted, urging him to run. Egan. The man jumped high and got into the position to deliver a finishing blow. Right at that moment, Egan's eyes turned crimson, matching the description, red-eyed monster. He just waved his hand across very lightly, and the man was gone forever. The expressions of the rest of the group were beyond words. Marin think carefully. Why must I build trust? With the people in the village. He lunged and devoured them. It is precisely so as not to raise any suspicion, because I will dispose of all these mercenaries cleanly. At this moment, the coldness around combined with the twilight glow. A seventh shout echoed. That guy is a vampire. He's not human. Mario fiercely brought his sword down. A vampire, why be afraid? On the contrary, it's good. If we capture him alive and hand him over to the church. However man proposes, God disposes. Suddenly, a powerful energy blocked the man's sword. Bio shivered, facing Egan's murderous gaze. Then we'd get a massive reward, right? Egan didn't say a word and forcefully gave Bio punch to the stomach. The man was still absorbed in the battle and arrogantly said, "This guy is no slouch. Even if he's just a corpse, I have to salvage him." Egan calmly spun his sword, listening to the man's arrogance. "This vampire's head is mine." In just a split second, Bio was easily subdued by Egan. At this point, the madman rushed forward with a sharp spear, yelling, "You devil!" His teammate behind him warned. "You idiot, don't rush in blindly." The madman, with a face full of determination, declared, "I'll crush you." However, Egan's calloused hands easily blocked it, but his hand was bleeding non-stop. The madman, his face covered in sweat, trembled. "I can't believe it." "You blocked it." Egan's eyes were sharp and his pupils glowed red, which only increased the chills. The sky was getting darker, and in just a heartbeat, Egan successfully sliced the madman in half, causing fresh blood to splatter everywhere. He stepped on the madman's face with his foot, without an ounce of mercy. He was surrounded by mercenaries crawling in pain on the ground, but Egan was unafraid and declared, "And night is my time." He spoke in a chilling tone, the perfect time to conceal the bloodstains. At this, they panicked and warned each other, "Don't rush in blindly anymore. He's a monster." Attack at the same time. The flame flared up, creating a warm feeling in the dark space. At this moment, the few mercenaries with pale faces spoke tremblingly. "No way!" On the ground were bodies crawling, amidst the large fire. How did this happen? Was it all caused by that red-eyed monster? No. It must have been you who caused it, right? Egan with his blood-red, murderous eyes. How could that be? "I found them when I was returning from hunting. I was checking my traps and found them all dead. This group seems to have been ambushed on the way to the village. Rodden and the culprits are the wolves." They shouted loudly, "No way!" Looking down at the ground, they saw a black wolf with terrifying fangs and claws. "Black wolves." Egan spoke softly. "There were many of them. I took advantage of them being busy eating the corpses to strike them down. As you can see, I killed a few, but initially there were even more of them than the mercenaries. The ones that got away are probably still lurking around." The leader, Hoini, said, "These animals are known to be the most vicious in this area. How could you deal with them alone? It definitely wasn't caused by this red-eyed monster, right?" A shout echoed, "Village elder." "The corpses clearly have wolf claw marks. Same here. They were all torn apart by wolves," Egan thought. "Although black wolves are fierce, it's unlikely they would be so reckless as to attack a large group of mercenaries." The group leader spoke, apologizing. "I suspected you for no reason." Egan calmly replied, "It's all right, anyone can misunderstand." "It's okay, anyone can misunderstand. What are you planning to do with the corpses?" "I told you, because we can't just leave them like this." The village elder replied, "They can't be left as food for wild beasts. We must bury them properly in the village," Marion whispered to Egan. "Egan, do you always lie when you open your mouth?" "After killing the mercenaries. The wolves smelled blood and came looking. You dealt with them, and then personally carved tooth marks on the corpses for disguise. Geez. It's good to hide it. But why does he care so much about his image? If he had just left immediately, he wouldn't have gotten involved in this messy business. Even so, he couldn't avoid being suspected. It seems he is calculating something." Egan spoke. "Oh, and I searched their 6 pockets for personal belongings, and found this. It seems to be a letter from the mercenaries. Do you want to read it?" Emilian thought, of course he has to read it. The feudal lord's seal money. The village elder held the letter. "What is this about?" Reading the letter for a moment made the village elder sweat profusely. "What is this, true Philip? Is Philip in the village?" The surrounding villagers were curious. "What does it say, elder?" "Philip is still in the village." "What exactly happened?" To everyone's surprise, the village elder quickly shouted, "Philip! He might be the feudal lord's illegitimate son, and these mercenaries came to pick him up." As soon as that statement was made, a murmur arose around them. "What, that kid is a noble." Camarade looked at the dark, red blood splashing in the air, and was stunned. "This is unbelievable. He managed to take down such a large group of people all by himself. If this continues, we'll all end up as corpses too. Don't hesitate, fight. Even if he's a monster, he only has 2 arms and 2 legs. Don't charge in blindly, surround him." His wounded face trembled. "Can't run away." Suddenly this guy appeared. Camarade observed Egan's powerful downward slashes and shuddered. Right at this moment, Egan's sharp, glowing red eyes turned back and aimed straight at him. He quickly threw a punch directly to Camarid's abdomen, causing Camarid's body to lose balance, and he slammed straight into a tree, creating a jarring sound in the forest. After knocking Camarid down, Egan quickly ran away. Meanwhile, Camarid was crawling on the ground, whimpering. Stop right there. Let's start over. Were you waiting for us? Why are you targeting us? It's just that we have business in the village on the other side of the mountain. At this moment, Egan stepped forward with a fierce glare. I'm just curious what you guys are doing in that village. That village belongs to me. His eyes were bloodshot. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry, so sorry. I didn't know you were the Blood King who governed the village. But we didn't come here to hunt vampires, sir. The illegitimate child of the Tion family is hiding there. We thought he was missing, but it turns out he's been secretly living here. We are only here to look for him. He spoke calmly. You're a good liar. What is your real intention? You mobilized so many people just for that reason. Are you planning to wipe out the whole village? Camarid screamed in terror. No, not exactly. But actually, we were not hired by the Tion family. The ones who commissioned us were the two legitimate children of the family, Camera Tion and Bertel Tion. They probably hired us due to political conflict. We are just here to capture that illegitimate child. We have this many people just in case of an incident, sir. Please spare my life. Egan ground his teeth in anger upon hearing his words. Among their bosses, he was indeed involved. Bertel Tion, the commander of the vampire hunting squad, was once with Underk in the fortress. I am Sir Bertel. It was difficult to give direct orders to the mercenaries to massacre the villagers, as that was solely their ambition. But that very act led to me being discovered by the Holy Knights, because the whole village disappeared. They mobilized a large force to track him down. He trembled as he spoke. We were just trying to seize this opportunity to make some cash, sir. If we had known there was a Blood King, absolutely, we would not have dared. After hearing this, Egan simply turned and walked away. Before leaving, he kindly warned, all right, remember to watch out for the wolves on your way back. He trembled still in shock. Did you really spare my life? Thank you for this kindness. Thank you, sir. Who would have thought that? Just a second later, he was slashed across the neck by Egan, causing fresh blood to splatter everywhere. Marin teased, if you're going to kill them all, why pretend to spare them? Egan just replied, I've revealed my identity. A vampire cannot let anyone live. He glanced in a certain direction, and look, the wolves are already drooling from the smell of the blood. On this side, the villagers were asking the village elder questions. Is that true? The village elder replied, yes, it is. The dead mercenaries were guards, who came to take Philip back to the city. They gasped in surprise. Philip, the orphan who lost his mother last year and lives alone. He came to our village 8 years ago. Could it be? The village elder spoke. The mercenaries who were taking Philip were defeated by the beasts. What should we do now? Egan stepped forward and offered to help. Do we need to take that boy Philip back to the Lord's city? The village elder nodded quickly. That is correct. But, Egan interrupted, even though the mercenaries couldn't handle the beasts here, I have lived in the forest for a long time, so I can likely escort the boy safely past the wild animals to the city. The village elder was astonished. You mean you'll escort Philip? How could I trouble you so much? I shouldn't. Egan smiled kindly, but with a hidden mystery. It's fine. As a knight, I cannot stand idly by. Marion stood aside and whispered, Egan, you really are quite the savage. At that moment, Marion suddenly gasped in surprise, as if seeing something shocking. The shock was immense. The large crowd of villagers were also wide-eyed with astonishment. In surprise, he too stretched his mouth and spoke, Egan. He parted his lips gently and spoke politely. Allow me to introduce myself. Then he smiled and declared, I am Ian Egan of the Egan family. He cut him off. Who would believe that? Egan's introduction left the villagers utterly astounded. That red-eyed monster is an aristocrat. Hey, listen up. It's impolite to talk that way. You should call him Sir Egan. Marion leaned close to Egan's ear to warn him. Even if you have to lie. You're taking it too far, Your Excellency. Egan smiled, knowing from their reaction earlier that these people had never seen an aristocrat before. This is a secluded village, where a boy hiding in the forest suddenly becoming an aristocrat caused a big commotion throughout the village. Even if I pretend to be an aristocrat, they wouldn't be capable of telling the difference. They continuously praised him with admiring looks. Sir Egan, were you really a knight? Why did you live in seclusion in the forest for over 15 years? Is it because you wanted to heal your training injuries? Or is it a form of knightly training, sir? He simply gave a vague explanation. Due to various reasons, I cut off my connection with humans and lived in this forest. They immediately cheered. No wonder, ever since you brought provisions to help the village. I noticed the difference. Thanks to your extraordinary knight skills, you can live alone in the forest, right? The village elder suddenly spoke up. but our village is very poor. We have nothing to offer you as a guarantee, Egan said in a low voice. It's fine. I just want to relieve my fatigue. May I stay in the village tonight? The village elder smiled kindly. That's a small matter, although our house is cramped. Please rest here tonight. In the open space under the clear sky, Egan with unfocused eyes looked into the distance. He revealed his beastly nature. The Blood King's hand lightly touched the wall. This was an enhancing ability derived from the Master of the Forest. His sharp eyes contained a fierce red gem, sending shivers down one's spine. The beastly and continuously felt the wall in a mysterious manner. Thanks to being covered in a layer of black resin, my skin can resist the sun somewhat. This way the journey will be less difficult. Marin cursed Egan. You foolish vampire! What were you thinking telling such a blatant lie? You claim to be a knight, but you can't even read. Egan replied quickly. Yes, maybe I'll be exposed one day, but I'll be leaving soon anyway, so it doesn't matter. Marin wondered. Now tell me, what is your real goal? You've been living quietly in the forest for so long, so why suddenly befriend the villagers? And even accept a request? Just then a voice called out, Sir Egan, we are ready. You can leave whenever you like. Egan whispered to Marin, see? In just one night I have gained status. A common person trusts authority more than lengthy words. You can lie as much as you want, but using status can reduce 100 lies to 10. Only this village would quickly believe a lie. Aristocrats are hard to convince right away. Therefore, from now on, I will turn that lie into the truth. Thanks to the good deeds from before, I have built trust with the villagers. The elder smiled brightly. Because I'm afraid Sir Egan might be misunderstood. I have written a letter of explanation, sir. Philip, or rather young Philip, please take good care of him from now on. By using my real power to turn all the false words into reality. Everyone will surely believe me. Philip stepped forward with a shy face. I am Philip. It's a great honor to meet you, Sir Egan. But to turn all lies into truth, I need a higher status. Egan spoke. You are Philip. I am Ian. Egan. It's a pleasure to meet you. Should I take advantage of him? Egan thought he needed to become a true aristocrat. The clear sky between the deep green forest. The two of them were making their way laboriously along the path out of the village. Egan asked curiously, Is that Brahma village? Philip replied, looking at the sign, Yes, it is. Egan wondered, You can read? The boy scratched his neck shyly. Yes, my mother taught me how to read before she passed away. She also came from a humble background, so she wasn't properly educated. She said those words were taught to her by her lover. I didn't expect that person to be Sir Ian. Marin stood beside him, teasing, Well, that's great timing. Ask him to teach you how to read, Your Excellency. Egan didn't hesitate and asked, Can you teach me how to read? Philip was surprised. Me, sir. You're a knight. Don't you know how to read? Egan said softly. Knight is just a title. My family has fallen into decline. There's nothing to be proud of. What I've used to make a living so far is not literacy. But my sword, Philip wondered. Has Sir Egan's family? His question was met with silence, as if Egan had accepted it. Keep doubting me then, trust me. Once I have your trust, it will be thick enough to cover all lies. Marin stood nearby, teasing. Wow, that's top-notch acting, right? Yes, it's a good approach. But lying too much will arouse suspicion. Judging by his look, it seems he already trusts you, Your Excellency. Philip slowly started, I apologize, Sir Egan. Actually, I had doubts about you. One moment you say you're a monster, the next you say you're an aristocrat. The villagers called you a monster, so I was a little biased. I will verify it myself instead of listening to rumors. If you come from a warrior family, it's understandable not to have learned to read, so that you won't be embarrassed in front of others. I will take the time to teach you when I can. Philip whispered, Please tell me more about yourself, Sir Egan. Who would have thought? Just then a knife flew straight past his eye. Philip's face turned pale, screaming loudly in shock upon seeing Egan for the first time quickly evolve into a beast to block the sword and save Philip. The hunters laughed gleefully. You have to pull hard the right way as I taught you. I did exactly as you told me. Philip's face was pale and covered in cold sweat. What is it? Are they bandits? The hunter sneered. Never seen a bandit before. Your expressions are truly entertaining. All right, let's be quick about it. Drop everything, empty out your bags too. If you don't hurry up, I'll kill you all right now. Egan said nothing, took the knife and violently slashed its head off. Understood. The head rolled like a candy dropped in midair, leaving the surrounding hunters speechless. As for Philip, he was utterly shocked seeing the head fall to the ground. The hunter quickly turned around and yelled, Boss. Egan casually said, I did what you asked. Very quickly. The other hunter, enraged, yelled, Kill! And raised his axe, cursing the guy. Without a word, Egan decisively took him down, splattering blood everywhere. A few sharp cuts from Egan's knife were enough to send them all to the Grim Reaper. Then the remaining accomplice retreated and pleaded for help. Help, help, in front of me is... Egan, with a brutal look, held the sharp knife and aimed for a final blow right into the man's chest. The atmosphere suddenly became silent. After the battle, Egan walked around, the corpses observing. I truly don't understand. Why do humans want to take down and rob others when they see someone weaker than them? He plunged the knife deeper into the chest of the foolish accomplice. Does being weaker mean they deserve to be bullied? Philip, if I knew how to read. Would I be able to understand this? The boy stammered in reply. That... The next second, crimson blood splattered out barbarically. Sir Egan covered Philip's mouth and said in a low voice, You said you would verify it yourself. Believe it or not, it's up to you. But I won't let a single drop of blood get on you. The bustling scene of Brahma village appeared. People hurried back and forth, and the sound of trade rose up. Come on, come on! Rare herbs just obtained from the northern hunt have arrived, only 20 coins per bunch. On the other side, someone was arguing with the owner. The store down there sells it for half the price. Don't talk nonsense, my goods are much higher quality. Marion's delighted expression and shaky voice, upon seeing the lively and joyful scene, were brimming with excitement. It's all strange stuff. Philip suddenly spoke up. Sir Egan, if you plan to shop here, it's best to be careful. He added, I've also come here a few times with my master, but the traders here are absolutely shady. You might end up getting ripped off, sir. My master gets charged exorbitant prices every time he comes here, without mercy. The other person shouted, Hey, down there, it's only half the price. Give me back my money. Egan looked around, thinking he needed money first before worrying about being careful. Then he headed toward the counter where the customer was, saying to Philip as he walked, Wait a moment. The boy replied, Yes, sir. Egan placed the items down and said, Shop owner, I want to sell some animal hides. Please give me an appraisal. The owner turned to look, wondering, Oh, is this black wolf hide? It's rare to see this much around here. How did you get so many? Batoni's eyes showed a bit of caution as he looked at the young man. He was wearing a black cloak that covered his entire body. That made the owner examine him more closely, Batoni thought to himself. Looking at those tattered clothes, he must not be a merchant. Is he a wanderer? He smiled secretly. Perfect for me to fleece him. Batoni immediately put on a deceitful tone. Oh dear. The hide is so damaged, what use is it? At most it's worth 18 silver coins. The young man's crimson eyes slightly showed from beneath his hood, looking straight at the owner, which made Batoni feel a little uneasy. His eyes darted nervously. He thought, what is it? Why is this guy's eyes so bloodshot? Batoni's voice trembled. Ah, well, black wolf hide is indeed scarce and considered a valuable item, so I can offer you a bit more. Egan remained silent. Those red eyes made the owner sweat and complain internally. If you're upset, just say it out loud. Batoni gave a forced smile and said, It looks like this is your first time here. You're a joker. I'll raise it to 23 coins then. Hearing that the young man looked at the owner and let out a faint, Batoni couldn't figure him out. He thought, still not satisfied. He added, then 25 coins. Egan just gave a prolonged slight sound again. Seeing this, Batoni quickly raised the price. Ah, no, not 25 coins. Philip looked astonished while Egan slightly repeated the sound. The owner fearfully continued to increase it. 28 coins. Egan dragged out the sound again. His red eyes seemed to exude dominance. Seeing this, Batoni was terrified and cursed internally. This hateful guy is going to drain my wallet until when? He covered his face and added, 30 silver coins, I can't go any higher. This made Philip so shocked his jaw nearly dropped. Egan then replied, Let's go with that. Night fell. Candlelight was lit bright and warm. He looked at the paper, thinking, What kind of writing is this? It looks like a worm. I've learned some basics from Philip, but it will be a long time before I can read and write fluently. The ancient script was written neatly in rows on the old paper. The voice of the water spirit rang out. This is decent enough. He rested his hands on his hips and added, A vampire should naturally wear silk, but this is worth the money. Egan said in a joyful voice. Contrary to what I worried about, this market is quite generous. Since I'm a new customer, I even got an extra discount. Marin covered his mouth, chuckling, and added, You really are a easily fooled trader, Your Excellency. Recalling the scene of that fraudulent merchant raising the price himself, his eyes sparkled with the light of money, and he exclaimed, Well, you should have. Bargained harder, and bought a more expensive silk set. He finished the sentence, and Egan replied, I only need a set for sun protection, that's enough. Marin was horrified when he heard that. What on earth are you talking about? You should be enjoying life. Have you been cooped up at home all this time, Your Excellency? The image he imagined was utterly luxurious. But a dragon should live the life of the nobility's nobility, living in a magnificent castle under the moonlight, wearing silk, ordering servants around, and drinking fresh blood. To advance, you must have ambition. Egan interrupted him. Excuse me, but you live in the swamp region, how do you know so much? Marin replied, I originally lived in the spirit realm. Occasionally, seniors from the surface world would return, and they would tell me all sorts of useful stories. He added, if you're not pierced by a silver sword or a wooden stake, then you'll live for at least 200 years? So learn a lot. Learn the ancient script and the imperial language, too. The young man immediately asked, then do you know how to write? Marin answered concisely, no. Egan continued to ask, besides making drinking water, what else can you do? From a distance, Philippe's voice rang out, Sir Egan? His face looked visibly tired and confused. I apologize, who are you talking to? The young man turned around and calmly replied, just talking to myself. Are you all right? Philip explained. I apologize for letting you see me in this weak state. While preparing the rabbit, I suddenly recalled what happened this morning, so the scene flashed back to that morning. When Philip saw Egan execute the robber right before his eyes, it made him throw up violently. Marin gave a wry smile. It was probably a bit much for him. Egan replied, it's fine. It's hard for a normal person to get used to someone who has passed away. Returning to the present, Philip added, but don't worry. I still have energy, the night is long. He smiled, holding up a quill and a scroll of paper, happily saying, I have enough paper. I will teach you to write as much as you want. Thus a peaceful night scene ensued. Both of them were intently looking at the paper. Suddenly Egan spoke up. Is writing really this easy to learn? Philip replied, that's because you are a genius, Sir Egan. He quickly added, it took me several months to master it. An average person takes a whole year. The young man replied, you flatter me. Egan added, is 10 liters like this enough? If you want to continue your journey, just knowing how to read and write is probably not enough, because you will soon become a member of the nobility. In a flash, upon hearing that, the young man's eyes slightly dropped, his voice faltering. I'm not sure, my mother didn't give me the details, and I never thought about it. It still doesn't feel very real to me. A hint of pink appeared on Philip's face. He added, initially I also didn't expect the Lord to welcome me. A group of people approached from a distance. One of them came closer to him, smiled, and said, hello, friends. We're looking for a place to camp. Could we ask for a little information? Looking at the person in front of him, Egan secretly observed. Full armor weapons and a carriage, too. Completely different from those lousy mercenaries earlier. These are professionals. The other person continued to speak. There's a child here, too. Could you tell me where you two are heading? The young man wearing the mask thought to himself, this is how mercenaries ask questions. If I lie clumsily, it will only arouse suspicion. He calmly replied, we are heading to the Lord's castle. The man eagerly said, oh, me too. Can we ask to join you? We have wine, water, and mutton, too. A call rang out from behind. A blond young man stepped forward. Captain Parutek, why do you need to do this? Let's set up camp together, you don't object, right? The red eyes behind the mask glowed. His face became serious. The man immediately tried to appease him. My apologies, Laban. This guy just joined the squad recently, so he's just not used to the proper manners. Please forgive him. The man introduced himself, I am Parutek, and you? The young man replied, Knight Egan. The young man's answer made him somewhat disbelieving. He asked again, Knight. Laban exclaimed, Captain Parutek. He says he's a knight. Do you believe him? Looking like this, and you call yourself a knight? No way? No horse, no armor, that's just a dud. He approached Egan and asked, tell me the truth, you're not a knight, are you? Then he pointed at him and added, Egan of which family exactly? I've never heard of such a name. His eyes showed that he was sure Egan was a fake, asking, is that so? That remark struck a nerve with Egan, causing his face to darken. His eyes seemed to want to get rid of the person in front of him. Egan thought to himself, I already told Philip this. I can't tell a different lie. The reason these mercenaries are approaching us is definitely not simple. He remained silent, observing the situation. Whether he was a knight or not was unimportant, but if they kept pressing him, trouble would ensue. His eyes flashed red, looking towards the mercenaries. He quietly calculated that the number wasn't large and he could take them out. Egan reached inside his coat, ready to draw his sword. A cold gaze came from behind, accompanied by the man's angry voice. Laban received a powerful slap, directly to his face, causing Laban to tumble several times on the ground, before hitting a tree trunk. Parutek bowed 90 degrees and said, I apologize, Sir Egan. Please forgive the insolence of this new recruit. Glancing slightly towards Laban, Egan replied softly, no need to apologize. Go ahead and set up camp. As if a heavy burden had been lifted, Parutek quickly responded, thank you for your generosity. Egan thought to himself, from now on there will be more instances of suspicion. To avoid unnecessary suspicion, I must quickly become a knight. Afterward, he sat down with Philip to study from a distance. Laban, who had been hit, remained motionless on the ground. After a moment, he regained consciousness, but his astonishment had not faded. Laban jumped up, stammering, why am I... Parutek, sitting nearby, spoke up, tisk tisk. Laban, you idiot. He frowned slightly and added, don't you know what fear is? How dare you rush a knight like that? Hearing that, he was astonished and confused. Captain Barutek, seeing that the kid still didn't understand, he hit him one more time and said, "This guy, you're alive because of me. Just now the whole crew almost bought the farm because of you." Laban rubbed the bump on his head and grumbled, "No, what's so scary about that loser? He's only carrying an old broken sword." Barutek saw this and scolded him. "Judging only by appearances seriously, you're truly blind." He added, "Did you see how much that knight's cloak is worth? That's a high-grade cloak made from Gallatin. The lining is silk. The cheapest one costs more than 10 silver pieces." Laban was astonished to hear this and exclaimed, "That expensive?" Barutek replied, "Yeah, that's at least 3 times your monthly salary." Egan was still focused on reading each character, but Barutek, incorrectly guessing that Egan was reading a letter, thought, "He probably knows how to read, he's no ordinary person." Barutek gave Laban a slight glare and added, "And he was about to draw his sword for real. We all almost bought the farm. If we were lucky, only I and one other person would have survived." Laban naively asked, "How do you know?" Barutek began to recall, while you were still talking nonsense, that Knight had already put his hand inside his cloak. Barutek keenly noticed that the man slightly pulled his left foot back. He's someone skilled at adjusting his center of gravity according to the sword's path. That's how it is. Image. Egan coldly swung the chilly sword across Laban's neck. Barutek drew his hand across his own neck and said, "If I had been a little slower, your head would be gone." Hearing that, Laban hesitated and said, Then you could have blocked it for me." Barutek frowned in doubt and asked, "Do you really not know how terrifying a knight is?" Knowing that Laban was simple-minded, he immediately explained, "A knight, since birth in an old family, has wielded a wooden sword. Their whole lives they've only learned the art of killing. They rush into unexplored dungeons, defying the fear of death, defeating monsters, and going to the battlefield to kill their own kind for merit. Only those whose hands are stained with blood are noticed by the nobility and finally conferred the title of knight." He added seriously, "And impersonating a knight is a serious crime. Whether he is real or fake, he will cause trouble. Someone who dares to impersonate a knight is certainly no joke. Unless that person is extremely confident in their swordsmanship, no one would dare to do that. How many people who spend their whole lives with a sword actually become a knight? Someone who looks barely over 20 years old and claims to be a knight means he has reached a remarkable level." After hearing that, Laban's face was covered in cold sweat and he stammered, "So he's even stronger than the captain?" Barutek replied casually, "Probably." With mysterious red eyes behind his mask, he added, "Furthermore, he's heading to Lord Tien's castle. I heard a dungeon was recently discovered nearby. Maybe he intends to participate in opening it. We're going to the same destination. We'll definitely meet again." Meanwhile, Egan silently wondered, "Good thing I kept my cool. Does the title of knight carry that much weight? If this method continues to work, that's great. But I need to prepare more." He looked at the group over there and thought further. Except for the one who was knocked unconscious, the rest are genuine mercenaries. Why did the Tien family hire that trash that time, instead of professionals like these? Or they could have just sent their own soldiers. It's strange. Suddenly he stood up and walked towards them. Laban's voice was a little shaky. Why is he coming this way?" Egan took off his mask and spoke. "I heard you are also heading to Lord Tien's castle." His stunning and magnificent beauty appeared under the moonlight as he added, "We're going to the same place, so why don't we go together?" His whole body seemed to emit a dazzling light, making them temporarily blind. Laban stammered, Yes. And just like that, the night passed. They all moved to Matella Twin Village in the Lord's territory. Egan followed along, thinking, "It's a good thing those mercenaries believe I'm a knight. If we travel together to the destination, thanks to them, I'll be able to gather a lot of useful information." The problem is, from now on, Mirian's appearance excitedly broke Egan's train of thought, calling out, "Sir Egan!" He appeared excitedly, calling out, "Sir Egan!" Then he hovered in the air. Mirian added, "Following your instruction, I overheard the mercenaries chatting." Hearing that, Egan asked, "Is there any notable information?" Here is what Mirian recounted. "Lord Tien's health is very poor. It wouldn't be surprising if he kicked the bucket at any moment. And recently, a new dungeon was discovered in the territory. Clearing the dungeon would earn a fortune, but the Tien family lacks both money and military force, so they haven't been able to open it yet." After Mirian finished speaking, Egan thought to himself, "Opening a new dungeon." Suddenly Mirian spoke again. "But Mirian wonders if Lord Tien is about to kick the bucket, what will happen to that boy? Will he become an orphan once he gets there?" Egan replied simply, "That's not my business." Mirian was surprised and asked, "Then what should he do?" Mirian worriedly guessed, "Will his relatives and cousins give him a hard time again?" Egan turned to look at the boy. He thought to himself, the reason Lord Tien summoned Philip is probably to see his son for the last time, before he passes away. His face showed no emotion. He continued to think, from now on, his fate and mine will change in some way. The horse's hooves trod on the stony ground. A loud shout rang out, "We've arrived!" The warm sunlight shone faintly through the city gate. Lord Tion's castle, the City of Roses. The mercenaries and Egan's group stepped inside this vast place. A look of astonishment crossed Egan's face. He thought, bigger than I expected. Marion, very excited, said, Sir Egan must definitely get a promotion and live in a castle like this. Egan immediately grabbed him, coldly saying, "Shut your mouth and follow me." While they were walking, a voice suddenly called out to them. "Hey, state your purpose clearly." Barutek smiled and said, "Greetings, sir. We are a mercenary company from the Felon Merchant Guild. And who might this esteemed noble be?" Tion's eldest son, Camera. Tion, the man with blonde hair and blue eyes dressed very luxuriously, replied, "I am Tion Camera the heir." He asked further, "Is that pile of stuff behind you our goods?" The man respectfully answered, "Yes, as you can see, we have delivered this goods safely." Camera replied, "All right, stop dawdling and start unloading the cargo." He looked towards Egan's group and asked again, "And who are these people? Why aren't they moving?" Egan answered, "It's an honor to meet you. I am the knight Ian Egan. And this young boy—" He suddenly interrupted Egan, "A knight." From behind, another loud voice spoke. "Brother Camera, what are you doing?" Egan's eyes narrowed. He suddenly recognized the familiar voice. The voice belonged to the man leading the cavalry behind him. He added, "How many times have I told you, brother, that checking outsiders is my responsibility?" A rose-shaped emblem was pinned to his cloak. Egan's red eyes narrowed, and he thought, how could I forget that voice? The leader of the vampire hunting squad, the first person who discovered my hiding place. He and Dear Hit tortured me severely. Knight. Bertheltion with a cold face, distinctive blonde hair, and a sense of danger. Bertheltion, direct knight, and the second son of the Tion family. "Brother, what are you doing here?" Camera was slightly displeased and chuckled. "Humph, what I'm doing. Do I need to report every single detail to you? If an outsider saw this, they would think you're the heir." Bertheltion quickly denied, "I didn't mean that." Suddenly a person walked up and called out, grabbing both of their attention, "Hey! This is a letter from Village Chief Gep of Broadway." Bertheltion reached out to take the letter Broadway. The other person unexpectedly pulled it back, confusing him. The letter was handed directly to Camera. Bertheltion looked at him with strange eyes. "Oh, Village Chief Gep." Camera opened the letter to read it and exclaimed, "No way. The mercenaries were attacked by wolves and all died. And the child you brought back is the young lord." Philip, standing behind, felt a little anxious when he was mentioned. He quickly bowed and greeted, "Hello, everyone. I am Philip." Camera smiled and said, "Oh, so you are our new little brother." He still smiled warmly and welcome while Bertheltion's face darkened. "I've been waiting for you. Father is very eager to meet you." He spoke with a slight anger, giving an order. "Someone take him to wash up and put some decent clothes on him." The soldiers receiving the command quickly pulled Philip away, in confusion. "Yes, sir." Suddenly a person stepped forward to block them. "Wait." Bertheltion, who was angry, also tilted his head to look in the direction of the voice. Egan then gave his own opinion. "I want to discuss the reward first. Please let me meet Lord Tion." Bertheltion's face turned red with anger and he shouted, "No!" Egan asked again, questioning him. "Not even for a moment." Bertheltion quickly replied, "Currently my father's health is unstable, so it's very difficult for him to talk. I will pay the reward in gold. Please leave first." Egan's eyes became sharp and red. "I've struggled to bring your precious younger brother back to you." Bertheltion did not listen and became even more furious. "Don't make me repeat myself a second time." Camera spoke up at this moment saying, "What's the big deal about it?" Bertheltion's face flushed and he snapped at his brother. Camera crossed his arms, his face bright. "Anyway, we have to introduce our new brother. What's the problem with meeting him for a little while?" Bertheltion immediately refuted him. "Brother Father is not conscious for more than 1 hour each day. We cannot let an unknown wanderer meet him." Camera curled his lips into a smile and asked, "Oh, are you now unilaterally arranging Father's schedule too?" Bertheltion, enraged, leaned close to his face and snapped, "Brother, why do you keep twisting my words?" Camera remained calm despite his brother's anger. Camera suddenly turned to Egan and said, "Oh, I apologize, Sir Knight Egan. Perhaps because my brother is playing the role of the heir, things are a bit difficult for you." He placed his hand on Egan's shoulder and smiled widely. "In that case, please be careful on your way back." Camera walked over and cheerfully led Philip away. "Come on, little brother, let me show you around. We'll tour the territory first, okay?" Philip replied awkwardly, yes. Egan glanced at Camera through his mask, so he had no intention of letting me meet him from the start. Suddenly, someone stepped forward and called out loudly, "Hey, Tion!" Confredek, the second son, rushed over with a man slung over his shoulder. "Here you are, I've been looking for you all morning." Bertheltion saw this and quickly asked, What is this?" Confredek dropped the man from his shoulder and replied, These are the mercenaries who robbed the villagers. They weren't training and were just slacking off, so I brought them back immediately." Gunfredic's expression darkened slightly as he dusted off his hands. How about we make an example and execute one of them? Bertheltion looked anxiously towards Egan, even though they were only temporary mercenaries hired to clear the dungeon. Bertheltion walked over, pushed Gunfredic's shoulder, and led him away. We'll deal with that later. I will discipline them. There are too many eyes here. Let's go inside to talk, Gunfredic. Gunfredic was surprised, but still obeyed. All right. Barutek appeared from somewhere and asked, That person is Knight Gunfredic, correct? Egan heard this and asked again. You know him? Barutek quickly replied. Yes, at the tournament organized by the Evergrow family recently. He won 3rd place. He's an extremely promising knight. His strength is monstrous like a beast. His technique is also excellent. It's rumored that in the arena that day, he swept away over 1,000 opponents. Egan wondered after hearing this. Why would someone like that come to this border region? Barutek thought for a moment. Perhaps because the dungeon has been newly discovered and is opening for the first time. Even though it's the border region, a knight who successfully opens a dungeon for the first time will gain great fame. Because opening a dungeon is extremely dangerous. Many people have died. Perhaps Knight Gunfredic wants to use this place as a stepping stone, to be appointed by a larger family. Egan pondered for a moment. Appointed, huh? Egan suddenly called out, making Barutek look back in confusion. Hey, Barutek. Your contract ends today, right? Barutek replied and hesitated, about to ask more. Yes, that's right, but... Egan turned to Barutek, smiled, and asked, Then can I make a new contract this time? That evening, the full moon shone, illuminating the entire sky. Bertheltion and Gunfredic were training the soldiers. I must be the one to open the dungeon this time. Camera sat above, glancing down through the window. My younger brother, after father's health deteriorated, he openly aimed for the air position. What's more, he even dragged Knight Gunfredic over. It's certain that he intends to successfully open the dungeon himself this time. If so, the people's favor will instantly shift entirely to him. While he was lost in thought, there was a knock on the door. What should I do? Now it's too late to hire some trash mercenaries. There's no one left to help me. What am I supposed to do? The sound of an announcement echoed from outside. Master Knight Egan requests an audience. Camera thought for a moment, then gave the order. Egan, that's the knight who just brought Philip back, right? Let him in. The servant took the order and opened the door for Egan to enter. Please come in, Knight Egan. Camera stood up and smiled as he walked toward Egan. Don't worry about Philip. I've ensured his safety specifically. When father wakes up, he will reward you for bringing my little brother back safely. After all, when you handed the letter to me, instead of giving it to my brother, I was very grateful to you. Thanks to that, I could breathe a little. Egan suddenly spoke, making Camera tilt his head in confusion. That's good then. Egan smiled, his red eyes glowing brightly in the dark. I only have business with the lord of this territory. But there is a third party interfering, which is making me a little confused. Camera raised an eyebrow upon hearing this. Oh, he sat down across from Egan. So what do you want? Do you want to meet my father directly? Is it perhaps to verify your identity? Egan immediately replied, That too. But I came here to propose to you, Sir Camera, to let me join the dungeon clearing team this time. Camera raised his eyebrows slightly, then burst into laughter. Camera's laughter echoed throughout the large room. He propped his hand on his face and glanced at Egan. You're more interesting than I thought. The title of knight. Camera looked down at Egan's seemingly worn clothes. He chuckled and asked, Did you give yourself that title? I heard you killed about 5 bandits. Now you want to join. To boost your knightly reputation, perhaps? What reason do I have to agree to that offer? Egan calmly crossed his legs and replied, For you, Sir Camera, this proposal isn't a bad one right now. Camera heard that and asked, What do you mean? Egan did not answer directly, but stated the benefit. By the way, if we successfully open the gate, I will only accept 100 silver coins and half of the minor loot, excluding the magic stones for myself and my mercenaries. Camera tilted his head, looking at Egan. That is indeed a decent offer, so much so that I find it suspicious. You know that amount is much lower than the market rate, right? Egan did not deny it, replying, Then is it acceptable to you, or not? He smirked and raised his hand. After all, you're the one in a bind, not me. Camera looked at Egan with a cautious gaze. A knight who lives and dies for honor. Looking at his attire, he seems to be a wandering knight, with no family backing him. He's not greedy for money. It seems he prioritizes honor, huh? Moreover, according to what he just heard, Egan suddenly spoke, interrupting Camera's thoughts. But you're the one in a rush, not me. Camera's eyes widened abruptly upon hearing this. He immediately thought of Bertheltion and Gunfredic. Camera gave a sinister smile. The author knows how to choose his pieces. He is completely different from those muscle-brained knights. He put his hands on the back of the chair and stood up. All right, I have no reason to refuse such a good opportunity. I rely on you, Knight Egan. After speaking, Camera slowly raised his hand. His hand was offered in front of Egan. Magic stones are difficult to refine and incur high processing costs, whereas minor loot can be sold immediately at its true value. Looking at Camera reminded Egan of Barutek. I will introduce you to a reputable merchant guild. As long as Sir Egan says he will only accept the minor loot, then Knight Camera will surely agree immediately. Confronting holding a knife said, "Tch, what a laugh." Bertheltion glanced out the window and continued. He's adding more people to the monster hunting team. Again, it's too late to struggle now. He spun the knife in his hand and said to Bertheltion, a dungeon is no playground for children. One wrong move and you'll be left behind immediately. That place is only about life and death. If a weakling gets in the way of progress, I will definitely object. Bertheltion shrugged and sighed. And what about the knight my brother found? He placed his hand on the back of the chair Ganfredik was sitting in. I don't expect much. My brother is not close with the neighboring nobles. His connections are limited. If possible, I hope you will tell him that yourself. Ganfredik turned to Bertheltion and asked, why are you pushing this responsibility onto me? Suddenly a voice spoke up, drawing the attention of both. Apologies for the wait, everyone. I was just chatting with my new knight. Allow me to introduce the newest member of the subjugation team this time. Egan and the people from his team entered the room. Knight Ian Egan and his group of mercenaries. Bertheltion saw Egan and thought to himself, it's the man from earlier. He even brought a group of mercenaries. Bertheltion spoke, brother, this is going a bit too far, but we cannot allow someone with unknown background and competence to join. Camera crossed his arms, his voice slightly slow. Background, you say? But as for his actual skill, I vouch for him. He smiled brightly and extended his hand to Egan, introducing, actually, I heard earlier from my younger brother, our newest member told us about the bandits who were harassing the border area of the territory. They were giving us a headache too, weren't they? I hear Knight Egan, on his way here, stopped and used a single longsword to wipe them out. The knife in Ganfredik's hand suddenly flashed. With this level of skill, I think his competence is already sufficient, wouldn't you say? He fiercely threw the knife, making it fly towards Egan. Sensing the danger, Egan's eyes widened. Egan quickly drew the sword hanging at his hip. A flash of firelight appeared. He struck the knife, sending it flying off in another direction. The wall where the knife struck cracked, leaving a large hole. Smoke was rising from the knife as if it were burning. Ganfredik, sitting in his chair, propped his chin with his hand and laughed with amusement. He suddenly put his hand down and sprang to his feet. Oh, hello! He slowly approached Egan. I apologize for the shenanigans on our first meeting. Your skin has no calluses or signs of sun exposure. It seems you've been pampered since you were little, haven't you? He stood in front of Egan, radiating killing intent. Little buddy, mind showing me what you've got. In the evening, everyone went out to the arena. The flickering firelight illuminated the entire yard. The people outside eagerly spread the word. Knight Ganfredik wants to duel now. Right now, yeah. They surrounded the arena to watch the excitement. I have to see the real strength of the knight who once took third place in the tournament. The one who can tear monsters apart with his bare hands. Oh my God, is that even human? People were packed tightly on both sides of the entrance. Regardless of who his opponent was, Egan ignored their comments and calmly put on his gloves. But I feel sorry for that person now. Ganfredik showed no fear. On the contrary, he was extremely excited. The tip of his sword struck the floor, splashing small sparks. He held his sword up, starting to seriously concentrate. The smiling face suddenly changed expression. Egan emotionlessly looked at him with a slight tilt of his head, then turned his face to look down at the ground. He forcefully flicked his sword, causing the ground to spark just like Ganfredik did. The referee stood in the middle, making adjustments, then shouted loudly, "Then begin!" As soon as the word fell, the person above quickly rang the bell to prepare. Egan's foot stomped hard on the ground, causing it to crack into many fragments. The sound of metal rang out. The two swords collided, showering sparks. They pushed their swords down close to each other's hilt, then suddenly slashed fiercely. Ganfredik and Egan stepped back, leaving bright sparks on the arena floor. He excitedly raised his hand to provoke Egan. Egan opened his eyes wide, looking at Ganfredik, provoking him. Egan dashed in from afar, constantly attacking to corner him. He shouted excitedly, "It really is Knight Egan." Knight Ganfredik is completely overwhelmed, Barutek explained, crossing his arms. No, he's just feeling him out. His eyes never left the arena. Knight Ganfredik is holding back. He parried Egan's attacks, without the slightest sign of fatigue. On the contrary, he smiled brightly. Ganfredik observed, thinking to himself, his swordsmanship is still quite rough. He has no clear style. It's impossible to guess what kind of sword he is accustomed to using. It's not a technique that was properly trained, but it possesses a wild quality, as if he was raised in the wild. Egan pulled his sword back and sighed, which excited Ganfredik. Just as I expected, Ganfredik blocked the blow and spoke up. Hey buddy, your title of knight is just a sham, isn't it? Confronting laughed and pointed out, "Your swordsmanship has no foundation. Your stance is loose. You've never been properly trained. You're just relying on your physique." Egan was silent as he listened to him. Although swordsmanship cannot be said to be everything for a knight, just a few dueling moves are enough to understand your opponent. Then Confronting used the momentum to jump up and unleash a move towards Egan, but Egan blocked it in time. "You sure have a lot to say?" He looked at Egan and smiled, giving a condition. "If you defeat me, I'll keep quiet about that." Then he attacked again. This time he put more force into the blow, leaving Egan only enough time to redirect his sword to the side. Seizing the opportunity, Confronting knocked Egan's sword upward and then slammed it down onto the ground, leaving him unable to react in time. He quickly took a stance. Confronting lunged forward, spinning in a circle which took Egan by surprise. He struck a blow aimed directly at Egan's head, but Egan managed to block it just in time. However, the force from the strike was still too great, sending Egan straight into the nearby wall. Barutek gave a contemptuous smile. The remaining people were shook with surprise. "He's knocked out." But Egan still clutched his sword tightly. Egan glared at him. Just then, he quickly recovered. Broken wall pieces fell and scattered. A quick sword strike narrowly missed Confronting's side. The two fiercely crossed swords. He thought to himself, that speed is seriously impressive. Egan continuously redirected Confronting's sword strikes down to the ground, while Confronting still seemed entertained. Then Egan used his leg as leverage, circling up to deliver a decisive blow. Confronting was equally quick, intercepting with a sword block. The two swords collided, but because the force was too powerful, the sword blades snapped and flew everywhere. Despite this, the two continued their attacks, regardless of the shattered blades. Then Egan and Confronting switched to hand-to-hand combat. They clasped hands, competing in raw strength, discarding their swords. While struggling, Confronting looked at the clasped hand and thought, "Haha, he's smaller than me, but his strength is..." Looking at Egan, who was determined to defeat him. "Acknowledge that your physical strength completely dominates." He flexed his arm muscles, but then suddenly pulled one of his hands. Egan stumbled towards him. "My combat experience is far superior." Egan was horrified to realize this posture. Egan fell following the pull. Before the stunned, open-mouthed audience, Confronting smiled brightly and quickly threw a punch. For a split second, everything seemed to slow down for Egan. Then he braced one hand on the ground. Egan sprung up and grabbed Confronting's other hand, but Confronting still didn't abandon his intent to attack with a direct punch. But Egan nimbly pulled Confronting's other arm, causing him to lose his balance. Confronting watched Egan swing his fist, thinking inwardly, none of his movements are formally trained. He either has a fast ability to absorb new information, Egan didn't hesitate and threw the punch, or he possesses a quick survival instinct to handle danger. Facing the punch aimed at his face, Confronting laughed excitedly. Where the heck did this guy come from? Egan put all his strength into a precise punch toward Confronting. Confronting was sent flying far backward by the punch, causing those near his trajectory to hastily dodge. He flew and slammed straight into the wall behind him, shattering the wall bricks and sending them flying. Confronting fell backward. His eyes rolled back with one cheek severely swollen. "I surrender," the person below announced in disbelief. "The winner is Egan." Egan let out a breath amid the announcement of the victor knight Ian Egan. The people around him exclaimed in awe and ran towards him. "No way, that knight is ridiculously strong." "Ian Egan, never heard that name before," Confronting shouted arrogantly. "Haha, see that, you bunch? That's our knight." Barutek glanced over from the side. "This guy is already claiming him as ours just like that." On the other side, Confronting was lying in a daze from the recent blow. Suddenly, his eyes opened again. Confronting's pupils regained consciousness. He stood up and walked toward Egan. He charged toward Egan like a wild beast. Egan was startled, overshadowed by the massive figure. Before he could react, Confronting had grabbed his arm. "Let's hear a big round of applause." Confronting cheerily raised Egan's hand and spoke loudly. For tonight's winner, to Egan's utter confusion, the crowd around him shouted in unison, "Ian Egan! Ian Egan!" Camera watched the scene and ground his teeth in anger. A moment later, a lavish dinner table was set. The maids and butler stood to one side, smiling warmly. Egan's face darkened, looking awkwardly at the meal before him. The butler spoke to him. "This is Lord Camera's order to open the dungeon gate. You need to eat and rest fully." "I will personally take care of your meal, Sir Egan." Another servant kindly asked. "How is the lighting, sir? I have drawn the curtains completely, as I know you are sensitive to light." Another person held up a bottle of wine. "If you are talking about your preference for wine, I can introduce you to a few bottles." Marin sat on Egan's head. Egan watched this scene. He enjoyed teasing. "Heh heh, as a vampire he doesn't need to eat or drink, but he can't say it out loud. Sir, won't eating all this give you a stomachache?" Egan ignored him and said, "I only accept the sentiment. From now on I will take care of my own meals. Everyone leave." The butler was about to speak, but Egan cut him off and sent a message to Sir Camera. He glared dangerously and said, I like to be alone. You hear that? He's been living in seclusion in the deep mountains for over 15 years. After that night, everyone's view of him had changed 180 degrees. Egan was walking when Camera approached to chat. Oh, isn't this our brilliant knight Ian Egan? Did you sleep well last night, sir? He replied, yeah, well enough. Camera wondered, but why did you refuse all the amenities I arranged? Barutek smirked when he saw Camera respectfully, bowing to Egan. Sir Egan, did you just cough? Egan thought, this suits me quite well. Gonfredic appeared out of nowhere, pushing Camera aside, grabbing Egan's shoulder and saying loudly, oh, isn't this my buddy? My bro Ian Egan. Egan said indifferently, Sir Gonfredic, don't get too close to me. Gonfredic asked, did you sleep well? My face is still stinging. I tossed and turned all night. Gonfredic pointed to his bruised cheek. See this pale face? Egan thought, you want another fight, don't you? Gonfredic asked, are you free today? The weather is nice. Let's have a match, okay? Camera was excited. Oh, can I watch? Egan thought, Gonfredic doesn't care whether I'm a knight or not. Those who doubted me are gradually changing their minds. Even though I achieved my goal, the crowd surrounding me still makes me feel uneasy. Egan said to Gonfredic, do you want to take another hit? Gonfredic laughed. Oh, we'll only know if we fight. Just then a pair of feet walked up. Philip, covered in wounds, appeared. He called out, causing Egan and the others to stare in shock. Sir Egan, Philip asked, are you doing well these days? In the dead of the quiet night, a sharp scream broke the silence. Ah, forgive me, master. Please spare my life. The shadow of Barutek, holding a stick, appeared on the wall, accompanied by a scream. He looked at the person lying on the floor. Humph, if you had done your job neatly, none of this would have happened, Barutek said coldly. If you had taken care of that bastard right at the village, why would that red-eyed knight be appearing at the Rose Palace? His eyes were bloodshot as he furiously yelled, my entire plan has been trashed. Philip knelt down and begged, I am truly sorry. Master. Those mercenaries were supposedly known for their thorough work. Barutek turned away and clicked his tongue. They're just a bunch of useless fools who were eaten alive by a pack of black wolves. They couldn't even deal with a few wolves, and they dared to take a job from me. Then he lunged and grabbed Philip's chin. Are your eyes only for decoration, huh? Barutek held the knife closer. Then there's no need to keep them. He threatened, scaring Philip. I will remove them right now. The people there paled, with fear upon hearing the sharp scream. Barutek finished his work and asked himself, what should I do now? He pondered. I can't just kill him openly now that he's in the city. Then, as if something occurred to him, Barutek said, I've figured it out. He looked toward the place, where light was shining in from the window above Philip. That's right, this is the only way. This method is also convenient for getting rid of him. Philip glanced up, returning to the present moment. Egan crossed his arms and asked, I heard Sir Barutek requested you to enter the dungeon. He leaned against the wall and said, I have a bad feeling about this. What about you? Philip sat on the chair and said, I'm here to sacrifice myself. I guess I will be sacrificing myself in the dungeon, right? He fell silent when he heard Egan speak. Do you remember the mercenaries who were on their way to the village, but were ambushed by the pack of black wolves? Those reckless mercenaries were definitely sent by one of your older brothers. Egan glanced at Philip. They didn't wish for you to arrive safely at the castle. Then he said something that surprised Philip. You still have a chance to live. Then Egan said, Philip Tuan, become my servant. Philip turned back, stunned. You are already 16 years old. You have gone through the coming-of-age ceremony. You no longer need the consent of a guardian. You have the right to choose your own path. He continued, do you want to run away directly and wait for someone else to finish you off? Or do you want to struggle until your last breath? On the day the dungeon opened, everyone stood in front of the large gate. Of course, no one knew what kind of monsters would appear. Gonfredic said, the group's preliminary guess is that low-level monsters are goblins and kobolds, mid-level are giant spider crabs, and high-level cannot be predicted. Our goal is to pave the way to the mid-level monster area. If high-level ones appear, retreat immediately. Is that clear? The whole team replied loudly. Yes, he commanded. So first scout around to see if there are any dungeon caves. One soldier sighed in relief. Thank goodness it's just butchers. No bloodshed this time, right? Another man crossed his arms and said, but I plan to pretend to be injured and sneak away after the fight. Low-level monsters. The other person was surprised. Huh, you can do that, he continued. Hey, my friend, the first time in a dungeon is incredibly brutal. No one cares about the rear guard. Who knows if we'll end up sacrificing ourselves while busy, scavenging for scraps. While talking, he bumped into another person. If it gets dangerous, let's just bail first. He was about to curse, yeah, you bastard. But before he could finish, Barutek looked over and asked, is Philip here? So he immediately changed his tone and bowed respectfully. Huh, Sir Barutek Philip. What do you mean, sir? Barutek looked around. I'm asking where that bastard Philip is. I distinctly remember assigning him here. The other man pointed. Ah, perhaps you mean that boy over there in the distance. Philip was happily talking to Egan. Sir Egan here is some hardtack. I wish you a safe return. Egan replied, all right. Barutek furiously shoved the soldier aside and walked over to the two of them. These wannabes without a family name scurry in as fast as scared rats. He approached and called out, Philip, what are you dawdling for? The question startled him. Barutek looked down coldly. Did you forget what I told you? Put on your backpack and return to your position. Philip flinched when he heard that and immediately hid behind Egan, which infuriated Barutek even more. Tag, is this kid deaf? He glanced at Barutek, who rushed forward, grabbing Philip's arm and pulling him away. I told you to return to your position immediately. But Egan grabbed Barutek's arm, forcing him to release Philip. Get out of the way. Barutek's face was veined as he heard Egan speak. It's quite funny, Egan said. Bringing someone who only knows how to hold a kitchen knife to open a dungeon. Are you even thinking straight? Barutek flung Egan's hand away. How disrespectful. I just want to train my brother to be stronger. Then Barutek snarled, Egan, look at your own position. You have no right to touch him. Barutek froze when he heard, you're the one who doesn't know his place. Egan continued before Philip could be dragged away. This boy has been my servant since yesterday. Everyone here witnessed it, Egan said, surprising Barutek. Tagro, Gunfredic and the others looked at Barutek. This is a master-servant relationship. If you dare lay a finger on him, you are challenging me. Egan got close to Barutek and unsheathed his sword halfway. Before we enter the dungeon, do you want to warm up a bit? Barutek yelled, How dare you act on your own like this? He shouted even louder. Do you think adopting a bastard child from another family is that easy? This is an act of obstructing his career progression. Then he heard the voices of other soldiers talking. But relax this time. It's not those fake knights like before, but people with real commanding power. A week ago, did you see the duel between Sir Egan and Sir Ganfredic? It was absolutely fire. Barutek glanced angrily. I wonder how long one has to train to reach that level, he thought. You'll have to live another lifetime to get there. He thought those guys. Suddenly Ganfredic appeared and patted his shoulder. If it's Sir Egan, I can rest assured handing my younger brother over to you. He smiled and glanced. Anyway, at 16 he's grown up. He should choose his own path, shouldn't he? Barutek was furious but couldn't say anything. Egan glanced at Philip. He is prey. When the weak become the target of beasts, it's hard to survive. Even if they hold their breath, the beasts will still hunt them down. Barutek scowled and gritted his teeth. If you can't get stronger, find a pack. Gunfredic smiled and stepped forward to pat Philip's shoulder. Come, let me take you to the study, duh. Do you know how to read? That is the weakling's method of survival. A soldier arrived to report. Report no traces of roaming monsters detected. It seems no monsters have escaped from the dungeon's cave. We may proceed to open the dungeon gate, sir. Gunfredic gleefully walked side by side with Egan. Good, let's begin then. The gate opened before the soldiers who were opening the dungeon. Gunfredic glanced back and warned, take care of yourselves and survive. Behind them were soldiers equipped with weapons and proper armor. Gunfredic and Egan led the team forward, setting off. Philip and Ganfredic stood waving. See you in 4 days. Please take care, Sir Egan. The gate slowly closed. He prayed to the gods to bless them. In the dark of night, deep inside the dark, damp cave, terrified screams echoed. A man collapsed. Blood splattered everywhere. The monsters rushed in, tearing at the soldiers. Their numbers and strength were overwhelming. Some fell, others screamed in terror for help. Help me from out of nowhere. A flash of light streaked through a sword, slicing the monster in half, saving the screaming person. The surviving man was panicked. I'm still alive. Gunfredic angrily swore, you damn idiot. His face was covered in blood. Monsters, hold your formation steady. He waved his hand at the troops, ordering, return to your positions immediately. Everyone frantically ran. Gunfredic gave an order to the archery squad. Center archers guard the cave. The arrows were shot with precision. The arrows were fired at the monsters, but they kept rushing forward. Gunfredic yelled, don't let them break the formation. Under Gunfredic's leadership, the troops gradually regained the advantage. Goblin corpses were strewn everywhere. One person looked down in fear. I knew it. He felt nauseous at the sight of the goblin corpses. I knew from the start that voluntarily hunting in the dungeon was an insane act. He ran in panic. I have to get out of here! He ran, looking behind him, trying to rush toward the entrance, without noticing a group of goblins blocking the way in front of him. Tag! He tripped and fell in fear. Monsters. The monsters were crushed by a sword thrown from Gunfredic. Gunfredic from behind was enraged. Idiot! Did you think going back the same way meant you wouldn't run into monsters? The young soldier was terrified. Gunfredic grabbed the soldier by the collar and shouted in his face, snap out of it, hiding. Here is the safest place. Confronting flung the soldier away and commanded, "Draw your swords. Hold your position." The young soldier listened in panic. In the front, Confronting's troops were still fighting the goblins. Seeing the fierce battle on both sides, Confronting wiped his sweat. He thought, these mercenaries were hastily recruited, so their skill level is this pathetic? Taking these guys to hunt in the dungeon is practically killing ourselves. Before he could catch his breath, another person reported, "Sir Confronting, they are swarming in again." Then another person reported, "Sir." Sir Confronting was also surrounded from behind. He quickly gave the order. Dang it, switched to the two-sided formation immediately. Egan stepped to the rear. "I'll take care of it." Confronting frantically tried to stop him. "Wait, Sir Egan, it's too dangerous alone." But he quickly dashed off. In a flash, Egan vanished. Confronting looked down in surprise, realizing what had occurred. Egan had transformed into tiny lightning-fast whirlwinds, and his mask dropped to the ground. Confronting hurriedly gave chase. "Barutek, follow me and guard the rear." A group of people proceeded deeper into the cave. Confronting led. Holy cow, in the blink of an eye. He's gone that far. Suddenly, Confronting's eyes widened. Egan appeared in a blue light that radiated from the flower he held. "I've completely wiped out the monsters at the intersection, and this thing I found in that corner. Is it valuable?" Confronting gasped. Barutek thought privately, "It's just common glow moss, and he doesn't even recognize it." Confronting was stunned by Egan's power. How can he possess such an incredible skill? Egan focused only on the flower in his hand. It's already wilted. After the battle, the soldiers were taken for treatment. The scene was frantic and busy. "Oh my God, I'm dying. Emergency, too much blood loss." A soldier reported, "Sir, Egan has finished collecting the remaining magic stones." Egan replied, "Gather here." A few glowing blue magic stones were carefully stored, wrapped tightly in a piece of cloth. "We defeated all those monsters just for this many?" Egan, disappointed, commanded, "Take a break." He gazed at the magic stone, deep in thought. Unlike the magic stone from the roaming monster, this one emitted a blue light. At that moment, Marin appeared. "What a pity, it's too small compared to a high-grade one." The quality of the magic stone is directly proportional to the monster's strength. Egan wondered, are the wild magic stones bigger then? The water spirit explained, "A dungeon monster that goes out into the wild becomes a roaming monster. But that doesn't mean the magic stone is bigger than the crocodile you absorbed before. It was both big and strong, wasn't it? Special roaming monsters like that are very rare. That was a strong one that occupied Sir Marian's territory." Egan frowned, recalling the previous battle. Egan realized, then, absorbing that roaming monster's red magic stone was truly fortunate. The water spirit held its head and lamented, "This is barely worth the effort of coming into the dungeon to please the nobles." Then it suddenly wondered, "I wonder if there are any high-grade monsters here." Suddenly a loud noise rang out, making Egan stop. Confronting turned back and announced, "Damn it, we just relaxed." "The break is over, form up immediately." His formation was already ragged. Confronting angrily cursed, "Hey, you weak, useless lot. Sir Egan and I will lead the way. You follow behind us. Anyone who runs away on their own will pay the price later." While listening to Confronting, Egan thought to himself, "It's my first time in a dungeon and he's telling me to lead." Confronting still didn't realize anything. He offered a suggestion to Egan. "These mercenaries won't be much help. Sir Egan, we should reorganize the formation a bit." Confronting intimately put his arm around Egan's shoulder. Ahead, we're definitely going to face monsters of a different level than the previous group. He spoke enthusiastically. "Goblins are just guards for the monsters that have long dominated the dungeon. That means we'll encounter at least mid-grade monsters. Once we defeat them, then in the rear and center of the dungeon, high-grade monsters will definitely be waiting." Confronting's words caused panic among the soldiers. Egan listened intently to every word Confronting said. He recalled that day. "After absorbing the red magic stone from the roaming monster, the Swamp Lord, I gained an extremely significant ability." Egan clenched his fist. "I'm truly curious. I wonder if absorbing another one will grant me a different ability." After a brief silence, Egan spoke. "There are over 50 similar footsteps, about 100 meters away, and behind them there are 3 heavier subjects." Confronting immediately smiled. He was extremely excited by what Egan said. "Oh ha." Gaff offered, "Do you want to try it yourself?" Egan did not say much. He opened his eyes wide. Egan gathered his strength. He launched a devastating strike, leveling the rocks and ground around him. His attack was aimed directly at a giant goblin. The engagement began. Gaff and the army advanced to gain the advantage. "All troops charge." Gaff ordered Barutek to follow closely and protect. The soldier replied, "Yes." Up ahead, Egan was fighting 2 giant goblins alone. He chopped off one of their arms. The soldiers behind yelled out, "Sir Egan, we will support you." Egan did not stop. He jumped up to the eye level of one of the goblins. He struck its eye forcefully with all his might. A stream of blood spurted out messily. The goblin screamed in agony. Its hand covered the still bleeding wound. Seizing the opportunity, Egan jumped up and chopped off a few of the goblin's fingers. He lunged again, stabbing down forcefully with all his strength. Blood gushed out from the goblin like a waterfall. Egan licked his lips with satisfaction. The red blood made him look terrifying. That day the soldiers below were stunned when they witnessed the scene. They had engraved in their hearts an image of the knight they had always admired. Once again, Egan swung his hand forcefully. His finger joints dug tightly into the goblin's head, making its head deeply dented. Egan snatched the goblin's head off with his advanced swordsmanship. Honorable, fearless, and unwavering in spirit. Dignified demeanor. The goblin's head was torn off. The scene was stained red with blood. Egan appeared like a fierce demon. What they were witnessing was far different from the concept of a knight in their imagination. Completely contrary to the ideal image, Egan enjoyed admiring his own handiwork. It was the appearance of an incredibly horrific wild beast. 3 giant goblins were eliminated. The soldiers rested after a battle that was super fierce, observing the surroundings. An old soldier was in pain from his wounds, gritting his teeth to endure. Goblin corpses and human bodies lay scattered. Gaff pondered. Most of everyone's strength was exhausted after this battle. How could our bodies be so tired just after this? Gaff must have concluded that the scene they had just witnessed had mentally exhausted everyone. The horrific image of Egan snatching the goblin's head off flashed. It was an incredibly bloody and super terrifying sight, having the intention to give up. Perhaps we should stop here. He looked up. Egan, who was resting, asked, Sir Egan, we've completed the objective. How about we head back? Egan expressed regret. I still have plenty of stamina. I don't know when I'll get a chance to come here again. It'd be a bummer to pass up this opportunity. Whoever wants to go back can go back first. Hearing this, Gaff immediately cheered up. Then I shall follow you, sir. We will accompany you. Egan jumped down from above. He made a suggestion, Gunfredic. You lead the troops out of the dungeon first, Gaff. Startled Egan reaffirmed. The road ahead. Just me and my mercenaries are enough to proceed. A voice rang out as Laban rushed over. Sir Egan, please let me come with you. Gaff frowned. Sir Egan? Could it be that he noticed the soldiers' fatigue and is kindly concerned about us? Behind them, Gaff's mercenaries sighed in relief. Phew. I thought we'd be forced to go. That's right, Gaff lamented. Behind that cold exterior is a warm heart that always thinks of those weaker than him. He admired Ian Egan. This young man really makes me reconsider what a true knight is. Egan. Laban and Parutek advanced deeper into the cave above. The area was covered in spider webs. Laban cowered, clutching the damn torch. I didn't want to come, so why did I get dragged into this? I'm scared AF. He reassured himself, recalling the scene of Egan dealing with the goblins. Sir Egan once single-handedly took down a monster. If it's dangerous, he will surely turn the situation around. Laban's foot suddenly stepped on something. He froze. Egan looked down at his feet. He lifted his foot. Underneath was the carcass of a spider that had been squashed flat. Green gooey liquid stuck to his shoe. Spiders. Countless spiders appeared from the ceiling of the dungeon. They released webs and lunged downwards. The spiders looked terrifying, with their huge fangs. Their big bloodshot eyes took up more than half the space of their heads. Their outer armor was rough and disgusting. These spider-shaped monsters live in colonies in the cave. They use extremely strong acid to liquefy their prey. Laban panicked. He screamed uncontrollably when he saw the spiders crawling closer. Parutek urged, There are too many of them. Please retreat temporarily, sir. Egan repeated, doubting retreat. Without saying more, Egan rushed forward, slashing down a large number of spiders to clear the way. He said arrogantly, No biggie. Parutek commanded Laban support Sir Egan. At this moment, Laban was still struggling with the venomous spiders. He shouted helplessly. He's already charged into battle. Parutek also fought non-stop. All 3 of them quickly dealt with the venomous spiders in turn. Laban fell down. Countless spiders surrounded him, making it hard for him to move. One of them opened its poisonous fangs wide. Laban retreated in fear, screaming soundlessly. It seemed like the end, but at that very moment, Egan rushed over in time. Laban tightly closed his eyes. He only dared to peek open his eyes now to look and gasped, Save me, please. Egan continued to rush forward tirelessly. Laban panted. He looked around blankly after narrowly escaping death. Spider carcasses lay strewn all around, even piled up in mountains. Egan had just killed another one. Laban scrambled up. Sir Egan! Is he really a monster? He marveled. He really is unbeatable. Sir Egan has killed enough now. Can we go back now? Laban turned to Parutek for agreement. Captain, you think so too, right? Seeing that the captain didn't answer, Laban worried, Captain. Laban looked down. Parutek's legs were shaking uncontrollably. His face had turned pale. How can there be something like this in this place? Dungeons have monster classifications. Although they are of the same species, they rarely encounter high-level monsters. So usually, the exploration team wouldn't factor in this situation. Perutek thought to himself. That absurd size clearly means it's the highest level of cave spider. Right. Above them a huge claw was revealed, the Spider Lord. A hideous giant spider appeared, with sharp piercing fangs. Its mouth split into two, revealing a long slithering tongue. The angry spider moved, preparing to attack. Perutek screamed, "Retreat, Sir Egan! We can't help you against this high-level lord. At least wait for Sir Ganfredic to arrive with backup," Egan said sternly. Perutek. Laban. He stared wide-eyed, warning them, "You two stand back. This is my prey." Perutek bowed his head. "Yes, your command." He panicked. What this feeling? It's like being completely out of control. Every nerve seemed to be screaming, telling him to run. He and Laban immediately fled. Behind them, Egan was single-handedly fighting the monster. The water spirit appeared, chuckling. "You instinct-driven kids. You've surrendered to the power gap between you and the Lord, haven't you?" Egan asked Mirian. "Is that Lord as strong as the Swamp Lord?" Mirian confidently affirmed, "No, it might even be stronger than the Swamp Lord." Egan said calmly, "Then the magic stone must be bigger too, huh?" Scene change. A small spider slowly spun a thread to crawl down. Suddenly something sliced through, severing a few of its legs. It was flung far away. Egan, with a cold face, snapped his fingers, looking at the dead spider. Egan recalled the second ability he gained. After swallowing the Lord's magic stone, it was the camouflage ability. With the skin enhancement ability I gained, the first effect was to protect the body. Combined with the camouflage ability, I recreated a human, and finally I could stand under the sun. Thanks to that, I avoided the trouble of having to avoid sunlight. A girl's voice rang out, "Sir Egan, you're not wearing your mask anymore." The girls constantly surrounded Egan. "So before, you wore a mask to hide this handsome face. It's so unfair to hide a look like this." They chatted endlessly. "Sir Knight, tell us the story of the latest dungeon raid." All the ladies gathered to listen. "They say you defeated the giant spider alone." Egan was confused and froze. The water spirit appeared above his head, laughing loudly. "Ha ha ha, my boss is really cool," it teased. "Tell them about your great feat, Knight." A lady blushed shyly. "Your appearance is absolutely gorgeous, surely. You have elf blood in your veins." Egan was annoyed. "Elf? Contrary to expectations, becoming a noble was actually an annoyance to me." Behind him, Gap, who was playing with everyone, suddenly stopped. He shouted, "Aha, now it's clear!" Everyone was startled and looked towards Gap. He recounted, "It's true that since entering the dungeon, your eyes were bright like headlights, your ears were sharp like a dog's, and your movements were extremely agile. Your spear-throwing strength was insane. I already thought you weren't an ordinary person." Gap was excited. He put one arm around Laban's neck and held a glass of beer with the other, approaching the ladies. "Who would have thought you had elf blood?" Gap looked intently at Egan. "But with this appearance, it's hard not to stand out. How did you manage to hide for so long?" Egan was annoyed. "He's annoyingly sharp." Egan propped a hand on his chin and said leisurely, "Well, I've never intentionally hidden myself." Egan's beauty made everyone at the table pause for a moment. Even Laban blushed shyly. The ladies couldn't stop exclaiming, "Oh my gosh, Gap! He can maintain a poker face while lying, can't he?" Egan sighed lightly. "Speak as you see, huh? From now on, if I'm suspected, I'll just blame it on having elf ancestry." So when fighting the Spider Lord, Egan won and obtained the magic stone. This time swallowing, the magic stone not only granted him an ability, but the tattoo also disappeared. The tattoo in Egan's eye suddenly vanished. This made Egan recall a few things. Memories I'd never seen appeared in my mind. I saw an image of myself lying in a strange place, with my current appearance. A soft hand held mine. In the strange space, a chanting sound echoed. Everyone was looking at me. Egan wondered, who exactly is that woman in my memory? No, first, a terrifying thought flashed across his mind. Are those really my memories? Egan slowly closed his eyes. The past he couldn't remember. The only thing he still held on to was someone calling his name Sir Egan. "Sir Egan, please save me." The cry startled Egan, waking him up from the strange memories. He looked beside him. Gap was talking non-stop. "Sir Egan, please save me." Gap was tightly squeezing Laban's neck, choking him. "You useless jerk, I heard everything. You said that thing was just a burden to Sir Egan." Laban clung anxiously to Gap's arm, explaining frantically, "That's because Sir Egan is not human. An ordinary person would have noped out a long time ago." Gap continued to challenge Laban, not letting up. "So are you saying Sir Egan is a monster? For now, I'll let you experience hell just so you know what it's like." Egan's eyes were pensive. "The only thing I remember is the name Egan. But after this incident, I'm beginning to have a hunch. If I continue to erase these tattoos one by one, perhaps I'll be able to uncover the truth. Not the fake identities like Knight or Elf blood, but my true self." Egan's eyes subtly wavered as he thought about it. In the room, everyone was gathered around a sickbed. Gap and Egan were also present. Gap bowed respectfully. "Yes, it is an honor to meet you, Sir Tion." I am Krima the third son of Gantrick. Egan copied Gap's mannerisms. He bowed. I am Ian, the eldest son of Egan. The Lord praised them. You must have worked hard. He motioned for someone to bring a tray. Hand that to Sir Egan. On the tray was a neatly rolled piece of paper. I heard Sir Egan needs documents to prove his identity. I wonder if this can help. But this will be perfect. Proof for your identity. Ian of the Egan family. Egan carefully took the paper. Thank you, sir. The old man coughed violently. Camarada worriedly rushed to Taiwan's side. He opened his eyes tiredly and said, Camarada, because of the ambition of my second son, I can't rest in peace. Camarada gently soothed him. Please don't worry. Father, your son will take over the land you painstakingly built. He placed his hand on Taiwan's hand. The old man looked at him and continued, My beloved son, that land is just a pile of black dust. Remember well, a true lord must know how to lead people, not land. Philip and the others were saddened, listening to the Lord's final words. As he finished speaking, Taiwan's hands dropped. He had passed away. The people mourned the passing of the Lord. Egan thought, although he didn't know what kind of Lord Taiwan was, there were quite a few people who grieved his death. But in the face of someone's death, not everyone shared the same emotion. Mateo stood outside, biting his lip. His face was furious. The sky gradually darkened. A black cloud gathered, as if signaling that something bad was about to happen. Gap prepared to leave. I apologize for leaving during the Lord's funeral. Camarada was understanding. It's all right, sir. I understand you have your own schedule. Gap looked at Egan wondering, Sir, Egan, are you really going to stay here? Egan had made his own decision. I plan to enter the dungeon one more time. It'd be a shame to waste the effort of opening it. Gap scratched his head and gave a weak laugh. That's a pity. If it were Count Evergrow, he would surely value you greatly. He held out his hand to Egan. Gap expressed sincerely. It was an honor to cross swords with a powerful knight like you. I hope that next time we won't be enemies. Egan looked at Gap's outstretched hand. He slowly raised his hand. Egan firmly shook Gap's hand. The two looked straight at each other like friends. Laban still lingered, waving goodbye. Please take care, Sir Ganfredic. Egan gave an order. Barutek, prepare to leave. He obeyed. Yes, sir. Philip wondered, Huh? You just said you were going to stay. Barutek didn't answer, but asked instead, Oh, what did Sir Ganfredic ride? Philip remembered. A horse. Barutek agreed. Exactly, a knight must ride a horse, of course. So we plan to find a horse for Sir Egan, while heading to the Merchant Guild to deal with the monster products. Hearing that Philip was excited. I see. I will also be a diligent attendant and serve you, sir. Egan suddenly asked, Serve? His face was terrifying. I have no need for your service in the near future. Philip looked bewildered. Huh. What do you mean, sir? The scene switches to Philip at a construction site. He is carrying a box. Someone shouts loudly, Hey, are you even working seriously? At the largest commercial city in the Kingdom of Cal, ship had just docked. Everyone was looking at the piled-up goods. People were surprised. All this, was it all brought back from the monster's den by that one night? Alone. Laban crossed his arms and laughed loudly. That's right. All of it is loot obtained by the knight, Ian Egan. Everyone's eyes widened. Ian Egan, isn't he the rising knight who defeated the trolls in the Tuan territory? What? The young knight who snapped a troll's neck with his bare hands. Laban pointed and spoke loudly. Hey, you merchant, don't just randomly touch things. Philip looked up at the sky, his face covered in sweat. He thought to himself, Knight Egan's story seems to be getting pretty long, huh? At that moment, a voice spoke from inside. Please do not worry, Sir Egan. I, Billmore, representing the Palin Merchant Guild, the leading trade corporation in Marin, will take responsibility for processing all this loot. Egan observed Billmore intently. At first, I was skeptical when Barutek introduced this merchant guild, but I didn't expect them to be such a large corporation. Very useful for an outsider like me. Suddenly, a sound of footsteps was slowly approaching the door. Gray abruptly opened the door. With my experience, I will negotiate the raw materials down to the lowest possible price. If you sign an exclusive contract with me, I guarantee I will. He sternly asked, Who is this Knight Egan? Egan still casually rested his chin in his hand, looking at Gray. Barutek leaned close to Egan's ear and whispered, Sir Egan, the situation seems to be getting complicated. He tilted his head. What's wrong? Barutek continued. This man is just a secretary. Under the vice president of the Palin Merchant Guild. Egan interrupted. What's the bottom line? Just explain it simply. Barutek continued. My point is he has more power than Billmore, who we are negotiating with. It seems he wants to snatch your loot, Egan, at a dirt cheap price, to ensure a stable income. You should be cautious right now. Egan's eyes were sharp. Cautious! Billmore gave an awkward smile and spoke up. Hey, Sir Gray, Knight Egan is negotiating privately with me. Gray interrupted him. Billmore, don't compete with an opponent you can't defeat. Furthermore, I don't see any signed contract. Sir Egan, rumors about you have spread throughout the port. People say the knight who snapped the neck of the troll in Tion is piling up loot like a mountain. Of course, that's just a baseless rumor, to inflate the values of the goods. It's truly a transparent trick by a wet-behind-the-ears kid. The vice president of our Palin Guild specifically wants to sign a contract with Sir Egan. I invite you to leave this shabby place and come with me. A novice knight who only knows how to use force, I'll strip you bare. Suddenly, Gray's expression froze, slightly startled. Egan stared intently at him. What is this pressure? Oh, my apologies. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Gray. I am the secretary to the vice president of Palin. This is certainly a great opportunity for you, Sir Egan. Egan's voice was serious and cold as he asked, Opportunity? What opportunity? Gray slowly replied. Of course, better conditions for your loot. Egan's eyes were sharp and cold, looking straight into Gray's eyes. Better. Gray's face was constantly sweating. Yes, our vice president will personally. Suddenly, Egan's eyes widened, looking a bit terrifying. The vice president personally. At this, Gray was stunned and stammered. If I have offended you, I sincerely apologize. I did not mean to be disrespectful. Egan's tone turned chilling as he asked again, Disrespectful. Frightened Gray quickly turned and ran away. Excuse me, I will come back later. Billmore cried, Sir Egan, this Billmore is incredibly touched. You were willing to refuse a contract with the vice president because of me. I, Billmore, swear to fully support Sir Egan. Just tell me what you need and I will do anything. Egan was surprised. Is that so? I like that attitude. His eyes lit up. Then when can we start? Egan stood up and continued coldly. What do you mean? Right now, go outside. Billmore was surprised. Frisella spoke up and asked, Was your offer rejected, sir? Gray bowed and replied, It is shameful, Vice President. The rumors are true. He is indeed a tough cookie. She looked out the window. It's okay. Lift your head, Gray. Knights often give merchants a hard time for the sake of their honor and reputation. In that case, we will use our own methods to give them a hard time in return. For us merchants, money and goods are power, especially when the opponent is just a knight who is completely broke, who can't even afford a decent horse. Go and present a gift to Knight Egan. A gift that the poor knight can't refuse. Philip's eyes widened. Huh, you're telling me to stay here and sell this pile of loot, Egan continued sternly. That's exactly what you heard. Continue selling the monster materials I brought back to Isa, Philip stammered. But why? Why do I have to stay behind again this time? Is it because I'm not strong enough to follow you, Sir Egan? If so, I will start practicing swordsmanship right now. Suddenly, Egan interrupted him and asked Philip, What is the duty of a slave? Philip bowed his head and slowly replied, It is to assist. The knight one serves in combat and daily life. Egan said casually, You understand it well. Your job is to assist me as a slave, selling the loot from battles to earn money. That is the mission that a knight entrusts to my slave. Discuss the details with Billmore. He will teach you a lot about business. Philip looked down sadly and thought to himself, That's right. If it weren't for Sir Egan, I would have been dead long ago. It's embarrassing that I'm complaining about such a minor thing. Egan continued speaking. When you've earned enough money, I will consider teaching you swordsmanship. Sooner or later, you'll have to assist me in combat, as a slave. Philip's cheeks flushed, touched by Egan's words. He gave a gentle smile and placed his hand on his chest. Philip's voice was soft. I, Philip, obey Knight Egan's command. At this time, Egan and Barutek were strolling in town. See you later, sir. Egan held up the empty cloth pouch. Money always disappears so quickly, huh? Even with minimal spending, there's none left. Barutek cried mournfully, clutching his pouch. Your shrunken wallet makes my heart shrink too, sir. Hey, sir, will we earn money again soon, Sir Egan? Suddenly, Egan's eyes paused, looking to the side. In front of Egan was a suit of armor made of sturdy material. Barutek spoke up. Oh, this is plate leather armor. The dream of every knight. Egan was surprised and asked, The dream, you mean it's expensive? Barutek continued to explain. Not just expensive. This is a treasure that even wealthy knights only dare to use by passing it down from generation to generation, not carelessly discard it. Suddenly Laban appeared, running over and shouting urgently. Sir Egan, there are reports. A giant horde of Lomo is appearing on the outskirts of Marin. Lomo from the eastern forest are advancing into the city. The Marin Hildas are trying to stop them. Barutek added, Sir Egan, perhaps this time we should join the subjugation. Egan was surprised. Why now? Both of them looked at Laban. Because unlike capturing an enemy's den, there is no fee deducted for eliminating Lomo. This is Marin, the commercial city overflowing with cash. The best place to sell loot and trophies for a high price without paying for transportation fees. In other words, this is our chance to make bank. Egan's face darkened. Let's go. There's no reason to hesitate any longer. Suddenly, a foot appeared unexpectedly from behind. Barutek's eyes widened. Wait, you are... Ray continuously bowed, breathing heavily. No, wait! Laban was surprised. Why is everyone out of breath? Ray began to speak. I am Ray, sent by the Vice President, to present you with a warhorse. Its coat is black and sleek like velvet, its muscles bulging as if sculpted by the gods. This is a purebred noble horse with a pedigree. Egan's eyes narrowed a hint of disbelief. The Vice President is gifting me this. Ray fearfully retreated. That look again. It's not that we want anything from you, sir. Egan's face grew angry, glaring at Ray. Sweat streamed down Ray's face. This is merely a small token of our sincerity. Egan quickly jumped onto the horse's back. Give my thanks to that person. Barutek started flying after Egan. Let's go get that money. Laban stared blankly, pointing. Master is already ahead. What are we supposed to do? The captain is too fast, we can't catch up anymore. Barutek yelled angrily. What else is there to do? He quickly ran off. Hurry and follow, you fool. Laban took the command. Yes. Ray stood his ground, watching them disappear. At this moment there was danger in the eastern forest outside. Marin. The goblins suddenly halted, turning their heads to look behind them. The hooves of a horse were frantically pounding through the forest. Egan quickly used his sword blade to strike down each goblin. Barutek excitedly laughed and spoke. Master, look at that massive horde of Lomo. This is definitely big. Have the Marin Guild members ahead already been wiped out? Egan's eyes were utterly confident. Good, I don't have a habit of sharing loot. In the deep forest, at this moment there was only a curtain of dust. The horse's hooves kept galloping without rest. Sunlight began to peek through the leaves in the sky. At this moment, Egan only showed signs of stopping when he saw the light. In front of him, a chaotic battle was currently taking place. Madika was now surrounded. You monsters, if you don't kill me, you won't take another step. The giant goblins, with their crazed red eyes, charged forward. Madika and his horse lost their footing and fell to the ground. The frightened horse ran away, leaving Madika behind. He groaned in pain. Madika, Knight of Justice, swear upon the honor of Marin. Suddenly, a weapon abruptly plunged straight into the ground. Madika trembled in fear, turning his head to look at the goblins surrounding him. Madika cried out, weeping at the scene before him. Please spare my life. Unexpectedly, a ranged weapon attacked from the figure rushing to the scene. Egan's face was grim, his eyes sharp, ready to fight. His sword blade continuously struck down each giant goblin. Madika watched it all, eyes wide, sitting still on the ground. He witnessed everything. Egan skillfully rode his horse, circling around the goblin corpses. Madika chuckled. I am truly indebted to you, sir. What is your identity? Egan did not reply, only coldly swinging his sword blade to swiftly strike down the goblin that was trying to attack Madika from behind. Madika's body trembled as he backed away. My name. Does that matter right now? If you die here knowing the name is meaningless. Innumerable monsters appeared and were approaching. You speak the truth, sir. If we are fortunate enough to survive this hell, I will ask your name again then. As we advanced toward the great merchant city of Marin, hundreds of goblins swarmed us like ants, but we fought to the very end. In that critical life and death moment, that knight coldly cut down all those goblins. And of course I helped too. We finally won and protected Marin. Suddenly someone spoke up and asked, who exactly was that knight? Madika laughed. Curious, aren't you? He said sternly, pointing. His name is Ian Egan. Everyone began buzzing excitedly. Ian Egan, isn't he the knight who once cleared the dungeon in the Tion territory? I heard he once ripped out the spine of a troll while it was still alive. That famous knight protected the city of Marin for us. Knight Ian Egan is the hero of Marin. Everyone began cheering Egan's name. Ian Egan. Louis Felon looked through the window and spoke. The entire city is buzzing with that knight's name. The higher his reputation climbs, the harder it is to control. Louis Felon, former representative of the Felon merchants, now mayor of Marin. Is it okay to just let it be? Frizella, my beautiful granddaughter. She bowed. Of course, Grandpa. Everything is under control. I even hope that Sir Egan will become more famous. The greater a knight's reputation is, the greater the fear of losing that reputation becomes. By the way, do you know about the apprentice Ian Egan is traveling with? Felon continued. The child who supplies him with loot for the merchant guild? That one. She replied, yes, exactly. Based on my research, that child is the secret illegitimate son of the Tion family. Felon turned around in surprise. Oh, you mean? Frisella continued to explain. Although I don't know Sir Egan's objective, it seems he is earning money here to support the Tion family's illegitimate son. If we can skillfully hold both of them, we can establish a relationship with that individual, someone who has the potential to become the Tion family's new master in the future. Felon continued, you are indeed my granddaughter. I understand your plan. Bribing a knight who is supporting an illegitimate son, huh? Well, I should also send a gift to Sir Egan. As the mayor of Marin, I must return the favor for the hero who solved the city's problem. I will nominate you as the introducer. Make good use of it. Priscilla bowed slowly, replying, "Yes, thank you, Grandpa." At this very moment, night had fallen, shrouding the magnificent castle. A slender finger gently lifted the teacup. The thirsty man will inevitably seek the riverside, so a merchant's job is simply one thing. Priscilla suddenly smirked with a dark plot: to dig a well and wait. Footsteps were slowly approaching, without resistance, without suspicion. Finally, the door showed signs of someone entering. Egan appeared before Frizella's eyes. "I will wait until they have drained all the water I sell." Priscilla's face darkened, and she spoke with a hint of malice. "Please, sir. In sturdy armor, you are the hero who saved Marin, Sir Ian Egan." Egan spoke. "I came to express my gratitude." "You are Frizella, the vice manager of the felon merchants of Marin, correct?" she replied. "Yes, I am Frizella, the vice manager here. Please have a seat, sir." "Ian Egan, a person with your appearance, is also a terrifying knight, who once broke the heads of trolls, huh?" Egan's face was cold as he looked at Frizella. "He's completely different from the knights I've met. The armor gifted by the mayor suits you well. It was custom-made at the best forge in Marin, crafted from special steel mixed with lax steel and ogre bone. It is so hard that even a dragon's tooth would struggle to pierce it." Priscilla asked Egan, "What do you think, sir?" Egan slowly replied, "It's all right. Thanks to it, I'll feel more secure when tackling the dungeon next time. Thank you for the lodging and the good food, too. Because of this, my mercenary company is also more motivated. I hope to achieve good results soon. I didn't expect these gifts, but I still appreciate your goodwill." Priscilla chuckled. "In that case—" Suddenly, Egan stood up. "You interrupted my proposal. Anyway, I'm busy, so I'll leave now." Priscilla was surprised. "Oh, you're leaving, sir?" Egan continued coldly. "When I finish clearing the Tion family dungeon, I'll stop by again. It's just a small deal." "Ah, that's not it. My contract only concerns the spoils of war this time. Maybe this is the final farewell. Next time I will focus on collecting 10 magic stones." Egan turned around and left, still cold. "See you later," Priscilla shouted angrily. "Wait, your eyes are sharp." He stopped and turned back to look at her. Priscilla continued to speak. "We still have a lot to talk about." His eyes widened and he asked her in a low voice. "What do you mean?" Frizella continued, "Mr. Egan. There must be a limit to your feigned ignorance. The most expensive armor in Marin, a noble horse with a pedigree, a luxury hotel, and a lavish meal for the entire mercenary squad. The spoils you sold to the merchant guild are not enough to cover even half of that cost." Bilmo and Gray were still listening intently to their conversation. She continued, "Don't tell me you don't know that everything in the world has its price. Or did you not learn that when you were studying? If that's not the case, then you are simply a brazen knight who knows nothing of honor. Would you like the people of Marin, who are praising you, to know this truth?" Egan's eyes were sharp and cold as he looked at the hero of Marin. "Mr. Egan," Frizella said with a laugh, "you've received all these favors and now you're planning to run away." "Mr. Ian Egan, please let me hear your reasoning." His lips were slightly parted, wanting to say something. Suddenly, Egan grinned and continued, "That's hilarious. The first time we meet, you try to give orders, and then you arbitrarily bring gifts I never asked for and give them to me for free. Now you demand something in return. A small-time merchant like you dares to threaten me." His words now had a very serious, hurtful edge. Egan continued, "Perhaps you are mistaken about something, so let me clarify. I signed a contract with your Philian guild through Bilmo. As long as you buy my goods fairly, I will leave you be. As for what the people of Marin say about me, I don't care. But as you said, everything has its price. Just try running your mouth everywhere and see what the real price is. Vice Director of this Philian guild, from my perspective, your Philian guild is colluding with the city of Marin to mistreat the knight who saved this city. Keep living like that, and next time a dangerous situation occurs, no knight will dare to stand up to protect Marin. Again, the business is done. I'm leaving." Arut turned back and added, "I apologize for the rudeness, Vice Director. It's truly a pity. If things had been done differently, perhaps we could have become good partners." Bilmo nervously looked at Frizella, the Vice Director's expression. Suddenly she spoke up. "Sir Ian Egan, please stop for a moment. I was truly impolite. I, Frizella, Vice Manager of the Philian Marine Branch Merchant Guild, sincerely apologize to Sir Egan. I allowed my greed to cross the line, wanting to gain the upper hand in the relationship with you. To make amends for this disrespect, I wish to start anew with Sir Egan. We will maintain the current contract with Bilmo and simultaneously add a new clause. I guarantee that you will not have to worry about anything anymore. We are tired of knights who are swayed by expensive bribes. Most of them are just suckers chasing after fame and fortune. But this guy is different." Egan's eyes are incredibly sharp. "This guy is too dangerous to trifle with. Perhaps that's why a merchant's intuition doesn't allow me to let him go." Frizella suddenly stopped and slowly looked up. Egan continued, "Fine, I'll hear your offer." His face darkened. "But it better be a really tempting offer." Frizella placed her hand on her chest and smiled. "Thank you for your generosity regarding my mistake." Miriam laughed excitedly. These luxurious jewels are pretty sweet, aren't they? A knight really needs armor and a horse to look boss, right? Listen up, my dudes. This country really is the best in the world. Barutek continued. The contract is pretty solid, Sir Egan. He looked down and asked, You think so too? Barutek nodded. Yes, the scale of the Filian Guild is huge. It cannot be underestimated. They have Marin as their headquarters, and hundreds of branches throughout the Roman Empire, mainly dealing with noble families, who hold high local positions, like the Tion family, for example. Their offer to arrange unlimited dungeons and labyrinths linked with the branches is an extremely groundbreaking proposal. With this condition, it's even better than being appointed by the nobility. He was excited. A superb negotiation, Sir Egan. His face was grimacing. I only said that to wrap things up. Suddenly a voice interrupted. Do you think wearing flashy armor makes you a knight? Look at that baby-faced mug. Can you even hold a sword hilt? Marion spoke up. Hey, what did that rotten potato face just say? Camera waved his hand and smiled. You're right on time, sir. Egan was surprised. Mr. Chimera. No, I should call you Lord Tion now. He replied, Feel free to call me by my name. You've changed so much. Egan continued to ask, How is your situation roughly? Chimera answered, The thing is, my younger brother was not discouraged at all and hired new mercenaries. But this time there's something fishy about it. Egan was surprised. Fishy? He continued, Hey, remember the mercenaries my brother hired to capture? Philip, the ones who got torn apart by the wolf pack. As I recall, they were all lowlifes. This new batch of soldiers feels the same way. Egan's eyes were sharp, observing them closely. Chimera continued, Therefore, for this dungeon clearing, I need to ask Sir Egan to handle it. Suddenly, someone quickly interrupted. Hey, Lord Tion, if that kid dies in the dungeon, then I'll become the captain, right? Chimera shouted in surprise. What the heck are you talking about? Callow continued. No, I just wanted to clarify beforehand. This isn't a group picnic. A dungeon is a place where human lives are as cheap as trash. We have to prepare for all situations, right? Egan's face looked coldly at the old man. I hope you will take care of it. Callow's expression was extremely confident now. He slowly emphasized captain. Egan turned around and said, That's a good idea. If I die, that bald guy will be the captain? Callow was surprised. The bald guy, I already have a backup plan, he continued. Let's depart now. Marion suddenly pointed and shouted, Sir, that guy! Egan replied coldly. I know, it's definitely Berteo's plot. He plans to use mercenaries to take me out in this dungeon. But if things don't go the way those jerks want, it might be quite interesting. Right now, Egan's sharp blade continuously took down one enemy after another. The entire cave was filled with corpses. His arm showed no sign of stopping, and the tip of the sword struck hard, without any mercy. Callow intently watched Egan. His reputation is certainly not an exaggeration. Standing at the front line, single-handedly facing all the mercenaries we brought, we were practically just sitting around. It felt like there was a gigantic shield in front of us. So, Callow ground his teeth in anger at Egan's skill. I must wait for the right moment. Wait for that one chance for this poisoned blade to slice across that hateful face. Egan suddenly spoke loudly. The area ahead is only for mid-level monsters. From this point on, I can't guarantee your lives. Those who want to follow come with me. In case someone didn't get it, I'll repeat it again. Only those who are confident can follow me. Callow continued, Captain. How can we just stand by if you go? This is my chance. Laban smiled. Then we'll go too. Barutek stopped them. Wait, we'll stop here for now. Laban was surprised. Huh, he continued. It seems Sir Egan has other intentions. They began to venture deeper into the dark cave. Egan thought to himself, the last time I was here, I was with Gafresh. Without him, everything is so boring. The image of Gafresh appeared in his mind. Even with a short observation, I saw that Gafresh is an excellent commander. He knows how to boost morale at the right time. He chooses the most dangerous position for himself to press forward. If it were him, perhaps even leading this bunch of rabble, could easily sweep the dungeon clean. Egan's steps still moved slowly. At this point, I'm curious how Gafresh would handle this situation. So you're giving up on your clumsy act now. Fine, if you're so desperate for death, I'll grant your wish. They were all surprised. What the heck is that? Why is there fire? Marion smiled confidently with the power flow in his palm. They were quickly incinerated. Run its fire magic. That guy even knows how to use magic. I can't see anything, Callow reassured them. Calm down, light the torch again. A dark shroud enveloped them. Why were you so careless, huh? I can't see anything. Egan silently struck in the darkness. Light it up, what's going on? What's that sound? We're being attacked. We're being attacked, fight back. Countless screams of pain erupted. Wait, that's our teammate. A glowing red cord was wrapped around their bodies. My leg. At this moment in this darkness, there were only screams. Callow gnashed his teeth in fear. I never expected this. Help, there's no light. The situation is even more favorable for him to rampage. The old man continuously struck stones together. Burn, burn, he yelled. Suddenly, Kalo's body froze at the sound coming from behind him. He slowly turned his head to look in fear. Why can't I hear anything? Egan's footsteps were slowly approaching. His voice whispered close to Kalo's ear. Do you need light? It seems too difficult. Should I lend a hand? Your human eyes are truly inconvenient, because they're so weak in the dark. So how is it now? Can't you see more clearly? Who is the hunter and who is the prey? Kalo, devoid of any emotion, stammered. For 4 voices. The old man slowly reached out with a mouth full of fangs. You monster! Scene shifts to outside the mansion. Heavy rain poured down as thunder and lightning roared across the sky. Someone's footsteps tried to hurry away. Camera shouted anxiously, Sir Egan! He still stood deep in thought, looking out the window. After a moment, Egan slowly glanced behind him. Berteo was equally confused. Camera hesitantly asked, Sir Egan, is that news true? He frowned, looking at the person in front, and uttered, What is this commotion? Egan let out an "Oh." Just ask the person involved about that. Then a muscular figure was thrown straight onto the floor. Berteo's eyes widened in doubt. Maverick. The old man held his face, his voice trembling. We planned to kill him. I planned to kill Ian Egan on Tion's orders. Hearing his name mentioned, he panicked and gave a forced laugh, denying it. This bastard always talks nonsense. Now he's truly gone nuts. Hearing that, Chimera couldn't help but lose it and scream, Little brother, do you really want to go this far? Berteo glanced over and denied it. You're the one who needs to come to your senses. Are you believing the babbling of a lunatic? What did you say, Maverick? Stop spouting nonsense. Speak clearly. Egan stood behind him. He used his crimson eyes to control Maverick. Say it. What was I planning to do? How dare I harm my master? Useless things like me deserve to die. Camera screamed when he saw the old man rush past him. Wait, what? But it was too late to stop him. Maverick shattered the window with his body and flew straight out. He clung tightly to the window frame, shouting, Maverick! A few seconds later, the old man's body struck the sword of the statue below, causing everyone to panic. Berteo quickly spoke up. See, brother? He clearly went crazy after witnessing us being ripped apart by monsters like paper. It's crazy to believe such nonsense. Isn't that right? Camera frowned and reminded him, I find it even more suspicious how happy you are, that he's dead. Berteo was speechless when his brother hit a nerve. Shut up! Berteo turned, changing his target. You too, Ian Egan? Don't you have any knightly honor left? How dare you slander me with those vague, baseless words? The young man's face darkened as he challenged Berteo. Speak with your knight's honor. Are you truly innocent? Though he was extremely terrified, he still spoke out the 2 words bravely. Of course. Egan suddenly raised his arm and called out. Then Berteo, come. I use my knight's honor and in the name of truth. The young man pointed his axe forward and challenged him, I dare you to prove it in a duel. Hearing that he could only clench his teeth, unsure how to fight back. Scene shifts outside. Voices chattered in the twilight. Is the second young master going to have a duel in the front yard? Oh my God, what kind of trouble is the second young master causing this time? I heard he hired an assassin. Hired an assassin, always causing trouble. But this time is too much. Who was he planning to kill? They looked at the young man and Berteo, standing opposite each other, and gossiped. I heard he wanted to kill the knight the Lord once hired, Sir Ian Egan. He seriously raised his sword in front of him. Camera, observing from the side, couldn't help but worry. He closed his eyes and thought to himself, the 2 sides strongly disagree. So this time force will be used to determine the truth. The truth will be guided by the true will of the gods. Egan's cold face appeared right after that thought. To the hands of the winner. Berteo now swung his sword down, screaming loudly. He gripped the hilt tightly and charged at the young man. Egan merely put his sword out in front of him. Immediately after, the 2 swords clashed with a clink. Berteo quickly pulled up with great force. He used all his strength to attack the young man, but still couldn't win. Damn it! Something made Egan lose focus slightly. He recalled when Bertel reported, I found the vampire. Report to Sir Direct immediately. Returns to reality. Egan spoke up. I've been hunted by a nobody like you for over a decade. The words made him freeze, feeling both fear and worry. Taking the opportunity, the young man swung his sword down, pushing Berteo back. He clenched his teeth and glanced down at his sword. After Egan swung his sword was also knocked into the air. It quickly plunged straight into the ground. At the same time, Berteo fell with a thump. The young man's eyes glowed red and his tone was full of murderous intent. Take that now. In terror, he could only stare blankly at what was coming. Meanwhile, Chimera was thinking that Berteo's swordsmanship was not bad. It was just that this time even an outsider could clearly see he was frozen in place as he watched his brother fall. At that very moment, Chimera realized Ian Egan was much stronger than his brother. Camera observed the overwhelming aura coming from Egan and confirmed it even more. Without hesitation, Berteo's arm flew out. At this, he quickly ran over and shouted, "Stop!" The young man glanced over and blandly repeated the word, "Stop." "Get out of the way, the duel is not over, sir." Chimera raised his arm to block. "I can't stand by and watch my brother die by your hand, Sir Egan. Berteo has been injured and can no longer prove his claims. The victory belongs to Sir Ian Egan," Berteo frantically shouted. "No, I can still fight. Let me send him to hell myself." He screamed in rage, "Berteo!" He looked down at his brother and advised, "That's enough. The victor has been decided. Admit your crime honorably and repent in prison." He yelled irritably, "Shut up! What crime have I committed?" Chimera pulled Berteo back. He clenched the sword in his hand and yelled, "Ian Egan!" Berteo furiously rushed forward. "If it weren't for you, you shouldn't have appeared in my life. I wouldn't have to suffer like this." A second later, a bright cut flashed across the young man's face. Egan suddenly looked down at Berteo in confusion, asking, "Huh? Why isn't my body obeying me?" His feet were still standing firmly there, but Berteo had already fallen onto his armor. His brother's eyes widened as he listened. "You should have taken the last chance your brother gave you." Egan pulled back his sword, leaving a long trail of blood. Berteo, the people standing around could only remain silent. When he was done observing, the young man turned and left, leaving behind a tense atmosphere. Camera darkened his face, letting Egan and his people leave as he thought. "My foolish little brother." Scene shifts to a harbor. Seagulls soared high in the sky. Egan walked down the corridor, a voice echoing in his ear. "Don't you regret it, sir?" The young man asked blandly. "Regret what?" Marin, flying ahead, replied, "Ah, the first demon created by you. Did you just use him to take the blame and then discard him?" Egan recalled that time and said, "There's nothing to regret. Something so weak it couldn't even endure. Becoming my demon, keeping him would only reveal my vampire identity. Using him as a decoy for the duel was just right. Did you think I would spare someone who dared to bare their fangs at me?" Hearing this, Marin sighed. It's true that a cold and emotionless vampire like this, a vampire should have a whole horde of slaves. Slaves are the symbol of a vampire's power, after all. The young man flatly replied, "No need," it sighed. He truly understands nothing about the bloodline. Egan reached out to the doorknob and thought to himself, demons created from the weak only make more work to clean up. If I have to choose a suitable one. Just as he opened the door, an alarmed voice rang out. "Sir Gafrash." The young man looked blankly as they talked amongst themselves. Yes, I heard things are chaotic over there. But when exactly did he go in?" "It's been 2 weeks." Bilmo suddenly turned and called, "Sir Egan." Frisella also paused for a few seconds. He quickly ran over to the young man and greeted him, "Sir Egan." "Hello, sir. I heard you successfully cleared the Daniel dungeon this time, too." The young man nodded. "Yes, I'm glad to see you again, too. So what happened to Sir Gafrash?" Frisella pondered for a moment, unsure how to start. Then he recounted, "Actually, 2 weeks ago, sir, Gafrash participated in clearing the labyrinth in the Earl's territory of Evergrow." At this point, the sound of horse hooves rang out, but then he vanished alone inside, even after searching up to the intermediate monster zone, but found no trace. Perhaps, Egan frowned tensely as he recalled her words. He is stuck in the advanced monster zone. Just like that, he rode his horse straight ahead, into the desolate forest. The door was flung open. Egan stepped in from outside. On the upper floor, a figure stood and greeted him. "Welcome, Sir Ian Egan. Your reputation precedes you. You are younger and more handsome than I imagined." Egan bowed solemnly and greeted him. "I am honored to meet you, young Master Kevin. Such a warm welcome." The man suddenly interrupted him. "Ah, right. We need to discuss this further. Kevin Evergrow, the eldest son of the Evergrow family, invites you inside." The two went into the room and sat down. He spoke first. "It seems Sir Ganfredic was too ambitious. If this dungeon clearing had succeeded, we were planning to grant him a title, but unexpectedly he ventured into the higher floor on his own." Egan tilted his head in confusion and asked, "On his own, you say?" He maintained his composure and replied, "That's right. Unfortunately, that higher floor is a place the Evergrow family has been unable to reach for the past 100 years. That place is called the Dungeon Lord's domain." The young man was slightly surprised by what Javan said. "The Dungeon Lord," Lugas, sitting on the side, spoke up lazily. "It's a being that not only lives, but also rules the entire dungeon." He propped his chin on his hand and grinned. Sir Ganfredic, because of his excessive ambition for achievement recklessly, caused trouble for many people. He stood up and walked toward the two. Allow me to introduce you. This is the knight guarding our territory, Sir Lugas." At that moment, he commanded the army to destroy the dungeon alongside Sir Ganfredic. Lugas then offered his greeting. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Sir Egan. I heard you defeated Ganfredic in a duel. Did you know? We have an interesting common point. I am the champion of the Evergrow tournament. That means I defeated Ganfredic in a duel. So both of us have the common point of defeating Genfredic. Interesting, isn't it? Sir Egan, his expression completely opposite to Lugas's cheerfulness, replied, "Does that matter now?" Jevon quickly stepped forward to ease the atmosphere. I meant Fredic was also a regrettable talent for us. Regarding this matter, I sincerely apologize to you, Sir Egan. He pointed at the young man and hesitantly asked, I heard that between Sir Egan and Genfredic there was a very close friendship, is that right? A memory flashed in his eyes, showing, Sir Egan and I are soulmates, best friends. The young man replied with a bored tone and thought to himself, well, you could say that. That deceiving scumbag. Kevin sat down on the chair opposite Egan. Since you were close friends, Sir Egan was dedicated to helping him, right? Listen closely. For the past 100 years, our family has attempted to conquer the higher floor many times, but the result has always been complete disappearances. Therefore, we have a rule. If they are not found within 1 month, we will stop the search and declare them deceased. Do you understand, Sir Egan? Sir Genfredic has been missing for 3 weeks. If he is not found within the next week, hearing his last sentence, the young man straightened up, his eyes widening. Then it's hopeless. Egan urgently jumped up. Then I ask for permission to leave immediately. Jevon saw this and quickly raised his hand to stop him. Wait a moment, I understand you're eager, but a dungeon is not the place to enter and leave at your leisure. He held up 3 fingers as a form of announcement. 3 days. Within 3 days, I will, along with Sir Luke's, prepare an elite army. The young man turned back and silently listened to Jevon. In the meantime, please rest and regain your strength. Egan, with a dark expression, spoke. Thank you, sir. He then continued speaking. One more thing. We have just hired a sorcerer. I will send that person to assist you. They are quite useful. Marin appeared, rubbing his chin and asking, a sorcerer? Outside, he immediately complained to Egan. That pointy-headed dude Kia is completely useless, Marin shouted angrily. It made the young man also pay attention. He looks skinny, but his power is seriously no joke. Sir Egan, do you believe that? I really want to dump a bucket of water on his nose to wake him up. Egan didn't answer, lowering his face in thought. Suspicious. Not just in 1 or 2 points. Before I said goodbye to Genfredic, he said, an image from the past suddenly appeared. I will be bestowed a noble title by Count Evergrow for my merit this time. So, why don't you come with me and enjoy the great rewards of this effort? Back in the present, he focused his thoughts. He was promised a noble title, so that's why he worked so hard to open the door and defeat the monsters in the dungeon. Why did they suddenly change? Furthermore, as far as I know, he's not the kind of person who would act recklessly, out of a momentary desire to fight monsters. A local suddenly screamed, Hey, over there! Oh my God! Over there! Egan didn't hear, still absorbed in his thoughts. Even if he was in a rush, he should have prepared an elite team of 5 and advanced safely, right? The local continued to shout the name that jolted the young man awake. Messiah is coming soon. In front of him was an old man standing on a platform. On the day the red shadow covers the moon, the goddess of victory will be enraged and descend to destroy this world. The locals panicked and jostled each other, then bumped into Egan. The disaster has already begun. The earthquakes near the dungeon are causing mass deaths of wild animals. Recently, a talented knight went missing in the dungeon, too. Marion wondered, pointing ahead. Aren't they talking about that pointy-headed guy? The old man on the platform raised his voice and shouted, Spill the blood of the calf at the door and offer the remaining beef as a sacrifice. Only in this way will the Messiah descend and save this blood-stained land. Below, murmuring rose it again. Oh my God, what should we do? What the heck is this? A heretical cult? He also asked Egan, slightly astonished. What kind of crazy language is that? The young man's face darkened and he spoke. The atmosphere in the village is completely off. A young man just walked over, handing a flyer to Egan, while yelling loudly, The gods are furious, so put your faith in me right now. The young man held the paper in his hand and read it. The animals that died from the earthquake near the dungeon, is it because a section of the dungeon collapsed, allowing the monsters to crawl out? If so, then why would Freddy? Egan quickly spun around. Marion, we must go to the dungeon right now. He was confused and asked, Why, master? A person approached from behind. Hearing the conversation, they grinned faintly and said, 3 days is still too long. We'll go find him ourselves first. Oh, time to sweep everything away. The person walked past, a growing smile on their face. Oh my, I didn't expect to meet a vampire here. Egan, as if struck in the heart, snapped his head around to look. The person with a scarf covering half their face continued, I heard that the vampires in this area were almost completely eradicated by the Holy Knights. Hearing the next line, his whole body went rigid as if frozen. In the middle of the day, you actually dare to walk around so openly, huh? Egan quickly grabbed the person's collar and immediately dragged her into a secluded corner. The locals were still whispering to each other about the rumor. Messiah is coming soon. From now on, everyone trust me. The young man forcefully shoved the person against the wall, making her bite her lip in pain. Egan's eyes glowed red in the darkness and his voice was sharp. Quickly tell me who you are. How did you recognize me? If you don't answer fast, I'll break your neck. Being lifted up, she struggled. Wait, hold on. If you let go, I can talk. Her face was drenched in sweat, and she spoke with difficulty. I am... As soon as he heard the answer, the killing intent in his eyes subsided. A Beguine? Marin sat with his arms crossed, his head slightly tilted to one side. Beguine, sounds familiar? He was surprised and yelled loudly, Ah! Marin quickly flew up, raising his hand. Master, stop killing her now, we'll mess things up. He quickly yelled out loud, causing Egan to tilt his head and look over. She's a sorceress. Marin waved his hands dramatically and shouted, The Pilgrims Occult is a family line of sorcerers who have served vampires for generations. He turned his face to ask, his hand unconsciously squeezing harder. Serve? Who? After a strangled cry, she fainted. Seeing this, he remained silent for a moment before saying, She's passed out. The setting changed. She was sitting inside a room, clutching her throat and coughing violently, then shouted, Why do you attack first and then ask questions? Who would dare answer like that? Egan glanced away, avoiding eye contact. I'm sorry. Marin angrily jumped up. She's definitely a sassy one. She raised her hand to cover her mouth and cleared her throat. Ahem. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Cirino Romari, a member of the Pilgrims Occult, who specialize in serving vampires. Our cult has the ability to instantly recognize a vampire. It's an honor to meet one of the Nightkin like yourself. I was also looking for Sir Egan, at the request of young Master Kevin. The young man heard this and thought, So, the sorceress Kevin mentioned is her. Romari hesitantly spoke. According to the young master, Sir Egan and Ganfredic have a very close friendship. Is that right? Egan just remained silent after hearing that, not saying anything. That guy's mouth is really... When I find him, I'll shut him up. Romari slightly bowed her head, glancing in another direction. I was also part of the army clearing the dungeon at that time when he disappeared. Marin and Egan were startled. Then the young man asked, Can you tell me the details of the situation back then? Romari bowed her head, her gaze lowered, and replied, Yes. At that time, I needed an item from a monster. So I volunteered to join Count Evergrow's campaign. The Evergrow dungeon is famously treacherous, but it has been explored for 100 years, so all floors are fully explored except for the upper floors. Therefore, everyone proceeded quite comfortably. Of course, there were still some casualties. As we were going deeper, the ground suddenly cracked. The soldiers yelled, Wait, stop, there's an earthquake. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion and the whole dungeon shook. Finally, the ground under my feet collapsed. Just as I was about to fall, a hand reached out and grabbed Romari's arm. Sir Ganfredic, who was guarding the rear, saved me and fell into the abyss in my place. Thanks to that, I managed to escape and regain consciousness. The soldiers began to complain. How dare he open such a dangerous gate? Everyone believed that Sir Ganfredic had opened the door to the upper floor, which caused the earthquake. I was saved by Sir Ganfredic, so I had to at least inform Sir Egan, who is his closest friend. I didn't expect you to be a vampire. The young man slightly tilted his head up and thought, Javin's words are far from the truth. Romari suddenly continued. Egan's eyes darted away. Yavin lied to me. Or did someone else transmit false information? Romari suddenly spoke again. But at that moment I saw something, in the deep abyss where Sir Ganfredic fell. There was a drawing of a giant eye. Egan found it strange and asked, An eye? She quickly replied, Yes, Sir Egan, do you? Still have the flyer that those cultists were handing out. The young man's expression darkened as he remembered the eye on the flyer. The drawing on it is exactly like what I saw at the bottom of a cave. Those people were shouting loudly, Worship him! Adore the Messiah who is about to descend. Offer your flesh and blood, and your sincere heart to welcome him. He will lead us to salvation. A cultist with a tightly wrapped cloak covering his face revealed a sinister and cruel smile. Our Lord is about to awaken. The crowd eagerly reported. The resupply of provisions is complete. The mercenaries and knights have all gathered. The voice grew louder and louder. We can mobilize now. What do you think, Sir Egan? Aren't you pumped to face the dungeon? His tone grew increasingly mocking. I just hope we don't have to carry anyone's body back, huh? He's not the type to just bite the dust. He laughed loudly, seemingly satisfied. Sir Ganfredic is really trusted, isn't he? Egan silently glanced at him, thinking, even though I want to enter the maze sooner, since I learned that Ganfredic's disappearance was no ordinary accident. I need to keep a close eye on this guy's every move. You waited 3 weeks for me. Surely you can wait 3 more days. Right, Ganfredic. At this moment, a group of people suddenly approached. Greetings, Sir Egan. We are holy knights from the Evergrow Monastery. It is an honor to be accompanying a true knight of faith like yourself. We are deeply moved by your determination to risk your life for others. In the name of God, please fight alongside us, Sir Egan. Marin teased, a true knight of faith vampire. Egan was stunned. I'll try. Who would have thought his comrade next to him would burst out laughing? Holy knights are people who obey God. It's rare to see them pay attention to a knight. Sir Egan, you should consider becoming a holy knight. Later, huh? The young man's face darkened. A vampire holy knight. Lugus smirked. A hint of malice hidden beneath his words. A deep mystery. Egan, with his blazing red eyes, silently glared at him. The door swung open as if welcoming everyone. Egan spoke, "Count, come here, let's talk for a moment." The young man replied, "Yes." Reminders were heard all around. "Everyone take a short break here. Don't let your guard down, just get some water and return to your positions immediately." Marin was still looking around with sparkling eyes. "Master, this place is so magical," Egan observed. "Indeed. It's definitely different from the dungeons I've seen. This place was artificially created, so it has the minimum living conditions for survival. The monsters are also moderately distributed. If the worst happens, one could probably hide in this maze and live another day." At this moment, Lugus spoke loudly. "This is truly an ideal place for evil creatures to hide, isn't it? Don't you agree? Truly outstanding talent. Nobody died on the way here," Egan asked. "How much further is it to the spot where Sir Ganfredic disappeared?" He sneered. "Don't be so impatient. You said you trusted Ganfredic, didn't you?" Egan replied to Lugus with a sharp look, as if stabbing straight into his throat. Lugus continued arrogantly, "But the person you should trust the most right now is me. Didn't I tell you? This maze, we Evergrow people know all the traps." The young man was curious. "But why are there still people dying every time we go?" He chuckled. "It's just a small thing. You can consider them as sacrifices to ensure a safe return." Egan seemed shocked when he heard this violently shocking news upon entering this maze. The Holy Knight troops from the monastery were busy observing the surrounding terrain. At this moment, the ground began to show strange signs. He spoke up, "Earthquake." Lugus shouted loudly, warning everyone to be careful. "The maze structure is changing." Egan gave him a murderous look. He raised his voice. "It's right here, Sir Egan." Lugus pointed towards the place where the wall collapsed. The wall area continuously transformed. He quickly explained the plan and the current situation. "And that's the shortcut to the upper floor." Amidst the chaotic space, a loud shout was heard. "Sir Egan, the earthquake!" Lugus stood amidst the seismic activity with an arrogant air, as if unafraid of anything. The young man stared at him in astonishment and curiosity. "What do you mean, a shortcut?" At this moment, his mouth stretched wide, grinning widely. "And the seismic activity is about to stop. It's precisely before the door closes." Lugus announced the spot where Sir Egan was standing, and so the rotary system rapidly began. Gruesome sounds echoed. At this moment around Egan were successive whirlwinds that made the air dense. Someone wondered, is this? He frowned in thought. It's definitely not a natural earthquake. Ganfredic fell into the trap that guy had previously discovered. But what is he aiming for in the end? Romary cried out in alarm. "Sir Egan over there!" She seemed to have witnessed something that made her eyes widen in shock. Egan looked at the body, covered in fresh blood tied to a wooden stake, and was stunned. Ganfredic. Immediately, he furiously flew up into the air, his whole body rushing towards Ganfredic. Egan saw the pale, ravaged body on the wooden stake, and his heart ached. He quickly touched his nose to check for breath. His red eyes narrowed. "Still alive? We just need to treat him in time." Marin whispered, Master, there is something strange here. I have felt something unusual, deep down there for a while now." Suddenly, from out of nowhere, a strong gust of wind appeared, causing them to lose balance. Romary looked up in surprise. Where did this wind come from? In the vast space, a sphere of murky red energy appeared, shining. Its bright eyes stood out amidst the chaotic space. Right now, the dragon spat out a horrific, bloody energy flame, making the surroundings reek. Its tail constantly thrashed, on the ground causing the battlefield to shake. The two of them witnessed its furious scene. She shouted with a pale face, "That is a minotaur!" Egan reminded Romary to protect Ganfredic. Its powerful strength easily sent chunks of earth and rock flying into the sky. He ran forward with astonishing godspeed, creating a friction sound that deafened the ground. He successfully dodged its attack with brutal speed. Egan's sharp eyes sensitively observed the Minotaur's stance. It was furious, spitting out a terrifying fire energy source, causing him to slide backward. Egan was thrown into the air. He winced lightly in pain, and even Romary was tossed into the air by its chaotic speed. The Minotaur drew out its sword filled with its glowing fuel. Its enormous body holding the sword created a brutal ferocity. At this moment, Egan, clinging quickly to the wall, shouted, "Wait, what are you trying to do?" Its glowing red eyes seemed to be aimed directly at him. The Minotaur's sword, just like that, struck the ground, causing the earth and rocks to tremble. What was surprising was that Ganfredic's body clinging to the wooden stake was also destroyed. Witnessing that scene before him, Egan frowned, biting his lip in anger. Egan concentrated all his strength on the wall to launch himself forward fiercely. He tried to stretch his hand towards Ganfredic, as if to grasp him. His eyes now showed extreme determination, and a desire to quickly end this situation. But then an energy barrier appeared, leaving him stunned. His face contorted as he screamed, "What are you doing?" Romary gently explained, "Sir Egan, that is a minotaur. It is one of the highest-level elite monsters." She stated the plain truth. Even a vampire would be dead as a doornail right now. Egan revealed his fangs and sharp eyes like a war god. He aimed his sword directly at her face, and then Egan retracted his sword. "You are truly insolent, Romary," she replied bitterly. "I apologize, Sir Egan, but I cannot stand by and watch a vampire rush to his death. Fighting the Minotaur head-on like this has too low a chance of success. If you truly want to save Lord Gap, you need to be more clear-headed. But why did a Minotaur appear right from the start? Is this labyrinth that huge in scale? I thought there were only Cyclops." While they were discussing, the door behind them was slowly opening. Light shone directly onto them, accompanied by his provocative voice. "Oh, wow! I can't believe that sorceress could use great earth magic. You survived thanks to Gap. I thought you were just an odd sorceress, who only knew how to create illusions." Unexpectedly, his eyes were sharp and the corner of his mouth twitched in provocation. Lugs laughed loudly. "Oh my God! I can't believe that sorceress could use great earth magic. In reality, you don't actually want to save Gap, do you?" Romary followed up. "It's because things happened too fast at that time." Suddenly, Egan's muscular arm grabbed Lugas's collar. "So it was you." His eyes were sharp. "The one who reduced Gap to this miserable state." He chuckled. "Oh, wow, I saw that Lord Egan missed his friend so much, so I just helped the two of you meet. Unlike those common folks, you are really rude, Lord Egan." Lugas slowly took Egan's trembling hand. Suddenly, his eyes froze, glancing to one side. Egan's hand quickly pulled out of Lugas's reach. Romary gasped, eyes wide, exclaiming, "That is," Egan continued, "that power just now." The back of Lugas's hand was glowing purple. "That is not Ngui's, is it?" Romary followed up, "Lord Egan, that pattern is clearly the power transfer spell. It was initially used to transfer energy between humans, but when it began transferring the power of non-human creatures, it was completely forbidden." Lugas's face interrupted. "Forbidden magic. That is just a wretched word game from those who want to monopolize power. Still don't get it. We are the chosen ones. When despair overflows the world, we will survive thanks to the will of the divine." Lugas's face froze. Egan cut him off. "So, you borrowed someone else's power to defeat Gap, and then pretended it was your real ability, in front of me? Fine, let me teach you a lesson in humility first." Suddenly, a fierce red stream of power radiated from his entire body. The two powerful streams of energy now collided. Romary thought to herself, "Such dreadful energy. How can an ordinary vampire emit something like this?" Lugas's attitude was supremely confident now. "Well, the act of hiding your power," his elbow quickly struck Egan, "is not entirely bad." Lugas's palm pressed directly against Egan's chest. The symbol on the back of Lugas's hand glowed. "But too bad for you, I have no intention of retreating." Egan and Romary were both suspended in midair. He continued speaking loudly. "I told you, every trap in this labyrinth is transparent to me." Lugas's eyes glowed and he chuckled. "Sink into the shadows, Egan." Suddenly he grimaced and shouted at the danger in front of Romary. A powerful magic circle appeared beneath her feet. Egan's body quickly changed direction, flying towards Lugas. His eyes were sharp, and his hand tightly grasped the sword hilt. Lugas's demeanor now showed not a hint of fear. The sharp sword blade swiftly cut past Lugas's cheek. His eyes slowly moved down to the trail of blood on his cheek. But in an instant, the sword blade shattered in two. He thought, "Jan Egan, I've heard you are powerful, but what just happened certainly exceeded my expectations. I can't be sure of victory in a direct confrontation. It was truly the right call to use Gap as bait and not kill him." Finally, the final sacrifice is about to be presented. The magic circles were slowly breaking apart. "I'm sorry, Lord Egan. The magic formation cannot be drawn any further." Romary urgently cried, "Wait, Lord Egan, where are you going?" Her face was utterly panicked in this situation. Romary quickly ran away. "What the heck is this? I should have pretended I didn't know anything. Why did I stick my nose in this and end up in this mess?" Suddenly she froze, looking ahead. Egan's grim face was holding Gap in his arms. He spoke, "Hey, can you save him?" Romary stammered, "Yes. My specialty isn't healing spells." Egan's voice was cold. "That's not the answer I want to hear." She was frightened and didn't dare answer Egan. Suddenly a crimson vortex appeared below. "I'll try my best." Marin cried out urgently, Master, I've checked. There is absolutely no escape route." Egan said sternly. "No wall can be broken." He continued, "Yeah, this place is like an isolated boss room at the end of a labyrinth." Marin looked solemn. "Master, there's something I need to report. Although this place is filled with water energy, I, a water spirit, cannot control anything here." Its gaze was fixed ahead, especially on that pool of water. Egan's face froze intently, observing the surroundings. The the glowing eyes on the walls. Is this what Romari saw underground, these eyes? He spoke asking Marin, "Why can't you control this thing?" It replied, "In principle, I can only control the blood of the dead. This means the owner of this blood is still alive." Suddenly, a dangerous presence emerged beneath the water's surface. A pitch-black monster was trying to rise from below. Egan still stood firm, completely fearless, watching the monster rise. Romari, who was transferring energy to Gap, was also extremely surprised. Egan spoke loudly. Marin, find any way to create an opening for escape. It accepted the order. Yes, master. Before him was an incredibly enormous demon lord. His eyes darkened. He turned his head to look at Gap, who still couldn't move. Egan's eyes abruptly shifted direction. I have to neutralize that guy first. Ending the thought in his head, he quickly rushed forward. The demon lord's large hand also began to rise high. The situation at the moment was extremely chaotic. In front of Egan, his demeanor showed no mercy. Gritting his teeth, he leaped high. Egan's body moved across the surface of the crimson water right now. His sword blade quickly attacked the demon lord's body. Suddenly, Egan froze, looking at his shattered sword blade. The demon lord also began to open its mouth wide, with a stream of light inside. Its arm directly struck Egan, sending him flying far away. Blood trails were dissolving into the crimson water. Egan suddenly paused, turning his head to look behind him. His eyes were sharp, grinding his teeth. Taking a run up, he leaped high. Egan's body now merged with the water. His body moved skillfully, constantly changing direction. The enormous demon lord was still raging, showing no mercy. Egan looked down at his sword blade. A normal sword blade couldn't even leave a scratch. Suddenly, a stream of power slowly emerged from inside the armor. Red streaks were slowly enveloping the sword blade in a deliberate manner. Egan's face darkened, in a ready stance. I'll use this for now. His attitude remained fixed, staring intently at the demon lord. Egan's feet quickly jumped away from his position. His face was grim along with his sharp eyes. Observing the surroundings, Egan's body moved skillfully, changing direction to attack. Suddenly, his body froze, feeling a not insignificant pain. The demon lord before him was still a dangerous enemy, hard to defeat. At this moment, it was still continuously attacking. Egan showed no mercy. His body was struck, slamming against the stone wall. A stream of purple power was enveloping the demon lord's entire body. Romari was still diligently transferring energy to Gap. She looked up. Her face was scared, stammering loudly, "Hey, Lord Gap, snap out of it, your friend is in danger." Egan was now trying to get up. What Romari says is right. A streak of blood appeared on his face. This high-level monster is abnormally strong. Its eyes glowed with anger, staring intently at Egan. Suddenly, the demon lord's giant arm reached out to do something. His eyes froze at this demon lord's action. Its eyes were still glowing, unable to anticipate anything. A fiery arrow in a crimson glow was rushing in at an extremely fast speed. Egan's entire body stood in front of Romari to take the hit. She was startled, eyes wide at what was happening. Lord Egan. His face was dark. He tried to look up, gasping non-stop. Egan's body was trembling, truly helpless. This familiar feeling has clung to me for 15 years. The large palm continued to attack. It was clearly so. Egan's eyes still looked up, fearless. But why? Why does it hurt even more than that day? Egan's entire body was being submerged into the water. Streaks of blood on his face continuously ran down, showing no sign of stopping. Before his eyes was the image of Romari, who was extremely terrified, and Gaff, who was unconscious. Why is Gaff still showing no sign of waking up? Suddenly his eyes gradually opened. Gaff was surprised, eyes wide, looking towards Egan. Why?